made in his film in order to completely change its character. Now the film has become a flashpoint between the CPM-led government Kerala and on one side and on the other side is the filmmaker. The RSS has also slammed the left government in Kerala. The film aims to show the brutality of Islamic radicals who went after Hindus, killing and converting them under the guise of peasant uprising. The director says that the 7 cuts that the film has been subjected to completely changes its character, almost wiping all trace of the Islamist nature of the violence. For example, the scene based on the Tuvur well incident where Khilafat leaders held a rally with over 4,000 followers. In this so-called rally, at least 38 Hindus were bound, beheaded and shot. Their bodies were thrown in a well. This scene has been removed from the film. Similarly, another scene spoke of how there was an attempt to establish an independent Islamic state in the Malabar through systematic cleansing of Hindus. A state censor board member had the scene removed. The list goes on and on. Scenes depicting the forcible conversion of Hindus, attacks on their temples and cow slaughter were all cut. The director alleges that this sanitizing in the guise of censorship is taking place at the behest of the PFI and is nothing more than bowing before the large Muslim vote bank that the CPM, that the left woos in Kerala. Let us now listen to the reasons given by the censor board to stall the film and give the film A certification.
My movie based on the Malabar riots was supposed to be released 2 months back. However, the movie was not released as the censor board has been trying to remove the real historical facts from my movie, such as Tuvurvel, Nagalikavel and forcible conversions. It was a known fact that Islamic fundamentalism was involved in Hindu genocide back then. This is a direct attack on my right to make a movie of my choice.
Time and again, the Malabar massacre and forced conversion of Hindus by Moplas has been concealed and often branded as an act of rebellion. People who carried out the targeted killings of Hindus were called freedom fighters and martyrs. 1921 Malabar massacre was an uprising of Muslim tenants against British rulers and Hindu landlords. The rebellion went on for several months, leaving thousands dead. Several luminaries of those times, including B.R. Ambedkar and Annie Besant, have not just detailed but condemned the horrors unleashed on Hindus. However, left historians hail the decision by the censor board in the garb of protecting the integrity of the nation.
ഇതിന്റെ അകത്ത് പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഒന്നുമില്ല. അദ്ദേഹം പറയുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ പോയിന്റ് ഓഫ് വ്യൂ നിന്ന് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഇന്റർപ്രറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്. ഈ സിനിമ റിവൈസിംഗ് ആണ്. അവര് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് റെക്കമെൻഡേഷൻസ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് 2 ആഴ്ച മുമ്പ് നമ്മൾ അറിയിച്ചിട്ടുമുണ്ട്. സിനിമയ്ക്ക് ഈ പറയുന്ന പോലെ റെഫ്യൂസൽ ഓഫ് സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റ് ഒന്നും അല്ല, അഡൽട്ട് സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റ് ആണ് വിത്ത് കട്ട്സ് ആണ്. അപ്പൊ അതിന്റെ റെസ്പോൺസ് നമുക്ക് രാമചന്ദ്രനിൽ നിന്ന് അഥവാ മിസ്റ്റർ അലി അക്ബർ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൽ നിന്ന് നമുക്ക് റെസ്പോൺസ് വന്നിട്ടില്ല. സോ അടുത്ത സ്റ്റെപ്പ് എന്താണെന്നുള്ളത് he has to decide. Either he has to submit the cuts and get the film certified, or he can go to court or whatever he wants.
But is there any objection to this movie from the side of the censor board here?
See, obviously there are cuts in the film. Those are the things which എന്താണ് നമ്മുടെ ഗൈഡ് ലൈൻസ് അത് പ്രകാരമുള്ള കട്ട്സ് കമ്മിറ്റി റെക്കമെൻഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ now it is up to him to respond to the cuts and decide what he wants to do next. ഇത്രേ ഇപ്പൊ ആയിട്ടുള്ളൂ, ബാക്കിയുള്ളതെല്ലാം പുള്ളി പറയുന്നതാണ്. So I have nothing to comment upon those.
The censor board's decision not to issue certificate for Ali Akbar's movie on 1921 uprising could be seen as a welcome move, because this is the need of the hour. We have to protect the integrity of the nation and the communal fabric of the country, in which I think the director Ali Akbar is completely failed. If such a movie is allowed to be screened in various parts of India, it will have a disastrous implication on the communal equations and communal harmony of our country, and it will further harm the secular fabric of this country.
Let's let's open this up. Let's go across to our guests. We have Ramasimhan Abubakar, the director of the movie, joining us on the broadcast. Let's first directly go across to him. Good evening to you. Mr. Abubakar, you have made some very, very serious allegations against the State Censor Board, and you're saying that there are influential people in the industry, there are influential politicians as well, and the board itself is biased, and they've made these cuts to alter the plot of your movie. Why? Who is going to benefit from this? Why do you think that there is this biased attitude towards your movie?
Actually, I made a movie with a historical background. I took the entire history from the history books, and I met the affected people in the Malabar area, spoken to them. They gave me the historical evidence, and I saw the markings of their doors even now. It is there even now. And my film is a presentation, a docu presentation actually, not an imaginary story. I took the entire sequence from the history, and just like a documentary, I made this film. And I'm not a judge to decide whether it is a rebellion or freedom fight or anything. I just expressed what in the history, 6 months history, from August 1921 August to and in 22 February. And I just took little bit from the history. I can say it is less than 1% of the real fact in the history. If I am showing the real fact, the audience will cannot see that film, because that much cruelty has happened in that time. Peeling of skin. You imagine peeling of skin and putting chili to the body, hanging 5 or 6 days on the road. It all happened in 1921. And 18-year-old girl raped by 14 people. I didn't show even a single rape there in my film.
Mr. Abubakar, you're saying you already kept the sensitivity of the audience in mind. Why do you think this is a deliberate attempt? Why are you alleging that the censor board members are influenced by the left ideology? Do you think they're taking directions from someone? Who are the influential politicians you're talking about?
Actually, the whitewashing of history is going on Kerala actually. Not in Kerala, on entire world. They want to cover up the real history. They want to cover up for whom? For the Islamic, what I can say, for achieving some votes from the hardest minds actually. So they are manipulating everything, even from the Kerala censor board. And there was 2 revising committee. Only me know what happened in that revising committee. They smiled to me. They given little bit suggestion for cuts. After all, they given the entire sequence. They given notice to me that the entire sequence of the Urwell, Nagalika well, possible conviction must be deleted from the film.
Okay.
How can I show my film without Tuvur well? Everybody knows what is Tuvur well. Even you can Google Tuvur well. You will get the history about the Tuvur.
Right. Mr. Abubakar, are you saying this is to whitewash the fact that the Hindu genocide did take place? Is that the real reason behind this? Is that what you're saying? And if yes, then who is directing all this?
Yes.
Who's giving the orders?
2 years back, one superstar and super director want to start a film on Vajim Kunnan as a hero. They want to whitewash the entire history.
Okay.
That time, my friends came to me and told me, if you are ready, we will give you the money to make a film. And you know, from the entire world, they given 50 rupees, 100 rupees and 1000 rupees to my account. Within 6 months, it reached up to 1 crore 75 lakhs. I made this film by the people, for the people. They want to know the real history. They want to see the real history. They want to show the real history to their sons. That is why I made this film.
But Mr. Abubakar, are you saying everybody from the state to the center is trying to stall your film? Because I believe the revising committee comes under the CBFC.
Yeah, in first revising committee, there were around 5 Malayali people and even a historian.
Okay.
You think about it, even a historian. Out of 9, 6 were with me. Out of 9, 6 were with me. Then I don't know what happened to they asked to the another revision, re-revision.
All right. So you're saying it was during the second revising committee that those cuts were imposed on the film that alter the entire plot of your film. Thank you very much, Mr. Abubakar, for joining us on the broadcast, for giving us your time. Let's now open this up and go across to our guests, and let's in fact ask some important questions. We have Uday Mahurkar with us. He's an author and also a historian. We have political analyst Abhijit Iyer Mitra, author Anurag Naidu joining us on the broadcast tonight as well. We have Danish Qureshi, a political analyst, Advocate Ehtesham Hashmi and Tehseen Poonawala, both political analysts. Good evening to all of you. Advocate Ehtesham Hashmi, why this denial? The director says, I did my research, this is based on historical facts, there is a deliberate attempt to whitewash the fact that the Hindu genocide took place. Why this denial? We saw this in the case of Kashmir Files movie as well, and now in this movie. Advocate Hashmi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead, please.
Actually, your voice is breaking, but still I got your question and I'll try to answer it. I got your question, but your voice is breaking, but still I got your question and I'll try to answer it. These kinds of filmmakers are putting national security at stake. As we all know that we are on the brink of genocide of Muslim citizen of India, and we all know that. There is one researcher, George Stanton, an expert on genocidal violence, had warned that India was on the brink of an anti-Muslim genocide. And main aim of these kinds of anti-social filmmakers and to create a law and order situation in our country.
You live here in India, I live here in India, sir. What makes you say that we are at the brink of Muslim genocide? आप भी यही रहते हैं, मैं भी यही रहती हूँ. Based on what you are saying that we are on the brink of a Muslim genocide in this country.
Please read the research paper issued by George Stanton.
That's what I'm saying. You and I live here. We witness the daily affair in this country. We are abreast with the developments that take place every day in this country. What is your assessment?
These kinds of filmmakers are doing their best to aggravate this situation.
How are they aggravating the situation? If it is a historical fact that the rebellion that initially started against the Britishers and the landlords took a communal turn, and the character of that changed and became communal, and thousands of people were butchered.
Lakhs of Hindu brothers and sisters.
If that historical fact is being put out in a film, how is that? How is that? One second, सुन तो लीजिए. Advocate Hashmi, सुन तो लीजिए. Advocate Hashmi, सुन तो लीजिए.
Kinds of filmmakers to instigate the violence in India.
Oh, if it is only a Hindu genocide, does it harm the fabric of the country? Is there a pattern that if a movie like Kashmir File is made that talks about Hindu genocide in the Kashmir Valley, and if this movie is made that talks about Hindu genocide during the rebellion, then that movie harms the fabric of the country?
These kinds of directors and filmmakers to destroy the social fabric and
okay, so you're saying historical facts
of our country.
Historical facts should not be cited. Such movies should not be made, even if it is a historical fact, even if that has happened and thousands of people have been butchered. Let's not talk about it because Hindu genocide has happened. Okay, Uday Mahurkar is not just an author and historian. In fact, his books on Veer Savarkar has an entire chapter on minority appeasement, and it talks about the Mopla riots. Mahurkar ji, I want to come to you. Mahurkar ji, what happened during the rebellion? Because Advocate Hashmi says today, such directors are picking up such topics only because they want to harm the social fabric of this country, and this is just going to incite people and provoke violence.
No. I don't agree at all. You see, in the last 230 years, there are two episodes which can be called Islamic Jihad. First one was the 1895 Jihad of Amir Abdul Rahman of Afghanistan against the Kalash people in Kafiristan area of Afghanistan, which is on the Afghanistan-Pakistan border as of today. And the second Jihad was the Mopla Jihad against Hindus and Christians of Kerala. So it is history. History cannot be suppressed, and more than that, what consequences India would pay if it compromises with pan-Islamists. It was a compromise with the pan-Islamists on the part of Congress, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, everybody. So basically, can you suppress real history? And secondly, if you want to stop recurrence of such episodes in future, are you not supposed to enlighten the people, make them aware? That is one. Secondly, the Congress tried to play down Mopla, I would call it pogrom, even at that time. Congress resolutions clearly state they tried to play down the entire thing. It was exposed only because of the statements and the line which people like Annie Besant took. They were the ones who brought it, gave it an official, I would say, sanction, Otherwise, Congress was allowed to suppress this entire dark episode. And another thing, let us talk about the Khilafat resolution of 1921, which Congress had passed. What was Khilafat resolution? Khilafat resolution said that the foreign policy of independent India will take into consideration the religious obligations of the Muslim community. And the same policy was followed by Congress for 44 years after independence. It was only when Narasimha Rao established full diplomatic relations with Israel that we ended that policy. Otherwise, our policy, foreign policy, especially with regard to Israel, was being carried on the basis of the 1921 Khilafat resolution of the Congress. So Khilafat episode as a whole cannot be suppressed. I think RSS has rendered a great service to the nation. Because it has got national security angle also.
Okay, Danish Qureshi, why are we living in denial? Why are important scenes being cut from a movie that established Hindu genocide during the rebellion?
I think we have two options in the country. One, you can promote the movies of communal harmony, or you can penetrate the movies which we are talking about of genocide. Number of genocides held in India even after independence. This is all about before independence in 1921. That nothing to do with the democracy. Remember one thing: before 1947, we were not in as a independent state or a democratic state. But the things are after democracy.
So should we just deny whatever happened before independence?
The movies like this.
Should we just close our eyes and deny whatever happened before independence? Also in 1988, in 1988 a movie was made titled 1921 in which the protagonist joins the Haji Brigade. There was no objection to that film. So if this entire issue is so contentious, then why one aspect of the movie of the episode can be shown and another aspect can't be shown?
This can be justification to promote a movie which create the hatred in the society, and we saw what is the situation, current situation of India. People like Yati Narsinganand are ready for the genocidal process of 20 lakhs Muslim, and in such circumstances, the movie like such, if it will be promoted, what will be the result?
You You are misleading the nation. Yatinan Saraswati is not supported by a large section of people who call themselves Hindutva people. So mind you one thing,
this is not about the supporting or not supporting. Remember, let me allow to complete. Yes, exactly. I want to say that don't try to justify anything which cannot be promoted in the civil society.
Absolutely, Danish Qureshi, absolutely. And whatever has happened during the rebellion is a historical fact. Also, tell me something. This movie will disturb communal harmony, but a panelist saying that India is on the brink, citing some reports saying India is on the brink of a Muslim genocide, that is not going to disturb communal harmony in the country. Is that not a provocative statement?
I think we have saw what happened in Bilkis Bano matter. We knew very well what happened. Who were the people, those who have
Bilkis Bano case कहाँ से आ गया?
Members of Bilkis Bano, and they are free.
दानिश जी, बिल्किस बानो केस कहाँ से आ गया?
अरे तो कैसे नहीं आएगा?
आपको नहीं पता, आपको पता नहीं कोर्ट में मामला है, आपको पता नहीं मामला कोर्ट में है, नहीं मामला कोर्ट में आपको पता नहीं. And what is the why are you drawing parallels? Why are you drawing parallels between the Bilkis Bano case and the Hindu genocide?
Why not? Because
what is the logic?
She is from minority religion. He was been treated like this.
What is the logic?
No, yes, exactly. We are asking to the Gujarat government that what is the logic
Abhijit Iyer Mitra
releasing of the
Abhijit Iyer Mitra, first it was Kashmir Files, because that spoke about ethnic cleansing of Hindus in the valley, and now it's this Malayalam movie. 7 scenes that establish genocide, 7 scenes that establish how there was an attempt to establish an Islamic state have been cut out of the movie.
See, did anybody object to films being made on Godhra? Was there, in fact, I can show you several clips where panel members here have said we need to discuss more about Godhra. Okay, did you even hear the accused in that, Amit Shah or Narendra Modi, ever say there should be an investigation or film should portray anything? There was a whole website called The Truth of Gujarat that was running this, which have all proven to be false. That's a different matter. But the point is, if you are hiding things, it is never a solution. It is never a solution to society. The way you confront your past is to deal with it head on. This is why we have a Holocaust memorial. Okay, peace in Germany does not depend on hiding the Holocaust. It depends on confronting the Holocaust. Now, you know what is particularly insidious about what Danish and Ehtasham have just said is that they have accepted that there is a Sunni monopoly on street violence in this country. It is code. When they say we need it for communal harmony, they basically want to say that do not do something where our core religion is come out on the street and start burning and killing people. Okay, he used the example of Yati Narsinganand. Yati Narsinganand said lots of horrible things. Did anybody come out on the road and do anything about it? But when Mohammed Zubair tweets about Nupur Sharma, 12 people were killed, 2 people had their heads literally chopped off, which incidentally was the way what the director was saying earlier, the Tuvur well incident. There was a man waiting near the well who, just like the tailor who had his head chopped off, he would one by one he would slit their throats, hack their heads off, and then throw them into the well. So I find this standard particularly strange that they're applying, where they accept that their community has some kind of a street monopoly on violence, and that should not be. Understand, it is not a plea for communal harmony. It is a threat of communal violence masked in a plea of communal harmony. Second, let's talk about the other things that happened in the Mopla rebellion. This was a direct result, as Uday Mahurkar ji said, of the Khilafat movement, because remember, this is why Jinnah left the Congress. Because Gandhi was willing to pay with extremely dangerous religious centripetal forces. He brought it into play. He got these 2 extraordinarily regressive elements, these 2 brothers into the entire game, wanted to oppose something that was happening in a completely different part of the world, and he set in motion the kind of fanaticism whose effects we see right till today. The effects of Gandhi's Khilafat movement still hang around every Indian's neck like a noose. Alright, so let us be very, very clear about this, that all this talk of this will harm the social fabric. Understand, social fabric, there are 2 parties involved. There is only one party that is known to harm the social fabric at the drop of a hat, including for TV interview and for anything else.
Tehseen Poonawalla.
Good evening, Swati. Thank you for having me on the show. Good evening to all my fellow panelists and to all your viewers. I have a slightly complex take on it, so kindly allow me to give my take. But for starters, I just want to make one thing very clear to viewers, though that's not the topic of the debate and we moved on to that for I don't know for what reason. It was on September 17th, 1950 that India recognized Israel as a country. It was one of the first countries in the world to do so. And the same year, in 1950, under the leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, Israel established its first trading embassy in Bombay. Since then, 1956, India has been involved with Israel, and there's a long list until 2013. So to say everything is done by the present BJP government is a lie. In fact, it is the Congress government that increased ties with Israel. So let's not go there. Now let's come to the issue that we're discussing, because that is the more pertinent issue, and I completely agree with my friend Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Look, you don't like a movie, don't watch it. You don't have the right to censor a movie. You don't like a news channel, change the channel. You don't like a painting, walk out of the art gallery. You don't have a right to threaten people or to threaten the country and say, hey, this movie should not be made because it will lead to a lot of violence. To that point, I disagree with both the panelists on the show. But here's the point. This movie, if it's being censored, is being censored by a board which is under the central government, not under the state government. If you're not happy with it, and the filmmaker has all the rights not to be happy with it, go to the regional, go to the headquarters. If he's still not got justice, go to the appellate in New Delhi, and he's still not got justice. There are two wonderful lawyers on this panel. Please hire them and go to the court.
That's what the director is doing. He is going to the court, but he's also levying very serious allegations of the board members being influenced. Board members doing this deliberately.
Fair point, and I respect his allegations. But A, those allegations are his. He has a vested interest in making those allegations because he wants perhaps some sort of traction for his movie. Or B, he's right and he should prove it in court. But this is not a state issue. This is a central government issue. So the question to be asked is to Udayji and to Mr. Modi, who promised us no censorship. Why is there censorship? Now here's the problem, and this is where I'd like to end. Mr. Modi says one thing, does a completely another thing. In 2013, and I remember while campaigning, Mr. Modi made it explicitly clear that there is no role for censorship in modern India. He even said this while Kashmir files. So why does he continue with the censor board? Why can't he reform it? But the censor board only gives certificates.
Okay, Anurag Naidu, the reviewing committee under the CBFC first made minor cuts, like the director was saying, and then major cuts. 7 main scenes of the movie were cut from the movie that established the Hindu genocide or the talks of establishing the Islamic State. So who really here is trying to stall the movie?
I think it's clearly, he made the allegations very clear. Mr. Ramasimhan, if your interviews, he was very articulative, and his charges were very basic. We don't have to even dig into the history and, all the Khilafat movement and Mopram genocide. We don't have to do that. But what he said is very clear, that the state censor board was continuously putting pressure on the CBFC to change it and to lobby. He clearly made his charges that he was satisfied after the first round of clearance, and in the second round there was some kind of lobbying and there was some kind of pressure which made the whole thing change, and he's ready to fight for it, and he's making very clear there is no vested interest. My dear friend Mr. Tehseen Poonawalla said he has a vested interest, but he's making it very clear. In your interview right before the show, he said that I have done my research, and he has quoted the reference from where it's picked up. He has quoted the historical evidences from Malabar, and he's very clear. See, let's understand whether the persecution of Hindus was true or no. Everyone will accept, yes, it was true. Whether Malabar was dominated by Muslims, yes, today it is. Whether it was dominated before 1921, no, it was not. Whether there was a large-scale migration of Hindus from Malabar, yes, we all know that. Whether it is some new allegation, no, it is a public domain information. There are hundreds of articles and tens of books written on this. So there is no conflict here. What we are trying to do here is people who are trying to object do not know that they are in a way promoting and creating curiosity for the millennials to know more about this, and the more they know about it, one way or the other way.
But Anurag Naidu, tell me something. You're saying that the state censor board actually managed to influence the CBFC and build pressure on the CBFC to go for those 7 major cuts in the film?
That's what the director is claiming, and I think we have to respect that. The only evidence we have is because he is involved in the process, and he is leveling some serious charges, even taking names of people from the state censor board who have been pursuing this matter with CBFC to ensure that these cuts are made. So if he is making his case, I don't want to kind of, spill something out which do not have an evidence, but I go by what he is charging, what he is, willing to fight. He's taking some categorical names, and I think we should give space to him.
Allow me right to rebut.
Tehseen Punawala wants to counter.
Yes. Anurag, I am on the same page as you. I don't think there should be censorship. It is Mr. Modi who promised there won't be censorship, and it's his board who's censoring it. So now, when I say the director has a vested interest, all I'm trying to say is, look, his movie will get promoted either ways, or he's speaking the truth. I don't know the truth, neither do you. He has to prove his case before the tribunal or before a court of law. He cannot prove it on Times Now or any other channel. But what I'm trying to say is, we need reforms. This reforms was promised to us in 2013.
But a similar design was followed when Kashmir Files. A similar design was followed for Kashmir Files, Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Are these directors just doing it to gain traction?
See, if the directors are doing it to get traction, then that implies that they are in collusion with the CBFC and people like that. So there are two fantastical allegations being made, one by the director and one here, that either the director is in cahoot with the CBFC or the local state board is in collusion with the CBFC. But I do believe the CBFC is an obsolete and anachronistic body. Tehseen pretty much nailed it. Because see, in proper developed countries, you do not have certification bodies like this. You have bodies for classification, and it is left up to the movie theaters if they want to play it, and everybody plays everything, and it is clearly marked, and there are guards at the door to see that children don't go into adult movies, right? The problem here is, on one hand, we don't accept that people have the authority to go watch what they want or walk out of any movie that they want on the first, and second, we tend to infantilize adults. What is the point of being 18 years old? If you've got the right to vote, then you also have certain responsibilities not to go out onto the street and riot. You're meant to behave, like we say, grow up, behave like an adult. That is what being an adult means. Here we think everybody is a prepubescent teen who needs to be mollycoddled by the state and the government, and hurt feelings need to be assuaged and whatnot. And we need some alleged white scholar writing on India being genocide imminent. हर चीज का गोरे लोगों का छापा लगना पड़ता है हम पे. गोरे लोगों के छापा के बिना तो ये
okay, while both Tehseen and you are questioning even the existence of the censor board, the director is alleging that this is being done deliberately because there's this left ideology at play in Kerala. The BJP and RSS advocate, Hashmi, I want to bring you in. The RSS in fact has specifically slammed the censor board, the state censor board, alleging that several such contentious movies, several such controversial movies were given a go-ahead. Back then, the censor board never thought about communal harmony being disturbed in the state or in the country. Only when it comes to this particular movie, only when it comes to Hindu genocide, everybody has been alarmed.
कट गया फोन.
Advocate Hashmi, can you hear me? Okay, Danish Qureshi, अगर आपने मेरी बात सुनी है तो प्लीज रिस्पॉन्ड.
देखिए, मैं तो सिर्फ इतना ही कहूँगा जो मैंने पहले भी कहा है और फिर से कह रहा हूँ. प्रॉब्लम क्या है, अभी जो मेरी एज के जो नौजवान हैं, जो शायद पढ़ लिख के 2-4-10 साल हो गए हैं, उनको अब ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि इस देश के हीरो जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी हैं या सावरकर जी हैं. हर एक राजनीतिक पार्टी या हर एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अपनी तरीके से चीज़ों को पेश कर रहा है. ये देश के लिए अच्छा नहीं है. मैंने आपसे कहा कि आपके पास 2 चॉइस है. आप एक अच्छे कंटेंट के साथ
अपने तरीके से पेश करने वाली क्या बात है,
कैसे बढ़े, उस पर भी काम.
मूवी में अपने तरीके से पेश करने वाली क्या बात है?
तो अगर सेंसर बोर्ड को लगा है तभी तो सेंसर, आप सुनिए, स्वाति सुनिए, सेंसर बोर्ड को अगर कुछ लगा है तभी तो उसमें कट्स रखे गए हैं ना.
तो डायरेक्टर कह रहे हैं कि इन्फ्लुएंस में आके किया जा रहा है. पॉलिटिशियंस हैं, फिल्म इंडस्ट्री के पावरफुल लोग हैं जो चाहते नहीं है कि उनकी मूवी रिलीज हो.
नहीं तो बढ़िया बात है. अगर उनको लग रहा है इन्फ्लुएंस में, तो मुझे लगता है कि शायद उनको अदालत का दरवाजा खटखटा
कर रहे हैं ऐसा. दैट ही इज डूइंग, that's not the point. He is already approaching the court. That's not the point, Advocate Hashmi. The point is the design. The point is the design that was and the pattern that was followed even when Kashmir Files was about to be released, even now in case of this particular movie. So what is the fear here? डर क्या है कि हिंदू जेनोसाइड अगर दिखा देंगे तो उससे कम्युनल हार्मनी पूरे देश की बिगड़ जाएगी?
This is not.
Yes, go ahead, Advocate Hashmi. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, see, there is no issue in any kind of movie, but it's a matter of CBFC, Central Board of Film Certification. If the director have any issue with the Central Board of Film Certification regarding few cut, then he can approach the Honorable High Court or Supreme Court of India. These kinds of matter cannot be decided on these news channels. And I am also may I make one small request with that filmmaker? Can he show some courage to make movie on Gujarat Files, the book written by Rana Ayub? Does he have the courage to make movie on Gujarat Files?
I think
why can't we have a selective?
already has countered that point.
With all due respect, if you want to make a movie about Gujarat Files, you make it. Now, who's stopping you? उसको क्यों अपना पैसा बर्बाद करना है तुम्हारे आइडिया पे? Are you going to fund it?
Then in Gujarat Files,
बात तमीज से करो, तुम्हारे हमारे मत करो, सड़क छाप गुंडे की तरह बात मत करो, ठीक है? पढ़े लिखे लोगों से बात
एक सेकंड नहीं, आपको डिसरिस्पेक्ट करने के लिए नहीं बोल रहे हैं एडवोकेट हाशमी एक सेकंड एडवोकेट हाशमी जो उन्होंने सवाल पूछा उसका जवाब दीजिए. हाउ मेनी सच मूवीज हैव बीन मेड ऑन गोधरा, ऑन गुजरात फाइल्स लाइक यू सेड, एंड हाउ मेनी सच मूवीज हैव बीन ऑब्जेक्टेड टू? कितने बार ऐसा हुआ है इस देश में? अगर आपके पास कोई ऐसी लिस्ट है तो प्लीज रखिए, बताइए, प्लीज टेल अस.
You can obtain detailed data from CBFC. I can give you list of at least 150 movies on which CBFC has suggested few cuts, few amendments, few changes. Have you seen and watched the movie Padmavati? Why
is that movie on
in the name of movie Padmavati?
Is that movie on Mopla? Is that movie on Kashmir or is that movie on Gujarat? किस चीज पर?
I am just answering your query.
नहीं, किस चीज पर मूवी पर? You're talking about Gujarat Files.
Please read.
You're talking about Gujarat Files.
Read some good books,
You're
man.
talking about Gujarat Files. All I'm asking you is the movie that you're talking about.
This is not a way to conduct the debate.
What else is the way? I am asking you questions. I am asking you questions. I am asking you a very simple question. I know how to conduct a debate. I don't need a lecture on that. I'm just asking you a very simple question. Please present a list of how many movies or attempts were made.
Even I don't need
how many movies or attempts were made on the Godhra episode? What kind of objections were raised? कितनी बार ऐसे आपको proposals सामने दिखाई दिए? Just respond to that.
I can name at least 150 movies before your channel and I can give you a very good lecture on this topic. CBFC, if you have a phone with you, you can Google it, write it now. That CBFC had suggested at least 1,000 times to 1,000 movies that few cuts should be made, few amendments should be made, few changes should be made, just to protect the law and order of the society. Do you have any knowledge about A certification which is given by CBFC? Have you heard about it, madam?
नहीं,
have you heard about
मुझे तो फिल्म्स के बारे में कुछ पता ही नहीं है. I have no idea about movies. अरे मुझे तो फिल्म्स के बारे में कुछ पता ही नहीं है. आप ही ज्ञानवर्धन कर दीजिए. आप ही ज्ञानवर्धन कर दीजिए. I am asking you a question. You said if the director has guts, he should go ahead and make a movie called Gujarat Files. I asked you a question specifically on that. You are telling Abhijit Iyer Mitra to not attack you personally, but you are doing the same to me. Anurag Naidu, how many films have been made?
Yeah. No, Swati, there is a saying, if you can't convince somebody, confuse them. So some panelists are having this philosophy. The question was very straight put out by Abhijit, and even if somebody like me who is hurt, absolutely hurt, and I'm very anguished, I will put my own investment. I'll go tooth and nail to the court and everything. I will make my own movie, and I will put my ideology if I so believe in that. So that is a classic argument. I don't want to get more into it, but there is a classic display of argument of convenience and politics of convenience at display. You know how it is when every time we come and we say, oh, Savarkar, Nehru. भैया सावरकर अपनी जगह है, नेहरू जी अपनी जगह.
All right.
कोई अच्छा कोई बुरा नहीं कहते. So let's have.
Okay, Anurag Naidu, I'm running out of time. The director has made very serious allegations against the board. The director says that there is an agenda. This is being done deliberately to whitewash the Hindu genocide and completely change the plot of his movie. There are some panelists who are saying that the CBFC has all powers and rights to cut out such scenes that affect and impact the social fabric and the communal harmony in the country? Viewers, you decide what really is happening as far as this movie is concerned. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. On February 20th, Bajrang Dal member Harsha was brutally stabbed to death by Islamists just days after the city became the epicenter of pro-hijab protests. He was hounded by his killers and murdered in full public glare. The cops then claimed that the murder might have been a case of past enmity, but today the country's premier anti-terror investigative agency, the NIA, has revealed a chilling anti-Hindu plot in its charge sheet. It says that Harsha was killed by the accused to terrorize the Hindu community. The charge sheet states that Harsha's assailants were driven by hatred against the Hindus due to hijab, CAA issues and also due to Gauraksha activities. The NIA reveals that the sole attempt was to create communal disharmony. It asserts that the assailants closely monitored prominent Hindu leaders in Shivamogga in order to eliminate them. The assailants gave Kafir Bajrang Dal wale ko maro war cry while inflicting cuts on Harsha's body. The BJP says it's time to ban radical groups like the PFI. Listen in.
The NIA has disclosed those who killed Harsha wanted to create a terror among the Hindus by killing Harsha brutally. This is the second time it has happened. Even in Bengaluru, Rudresh was brutally murdered only to create fear on Hindus in the minority-dominated area. These bigoted, terror-oriented SDPI and PFI activists are creating a havoc. The government needs to act firmly and with a heavy hand. I hope the killers of Harsha will be punished very shortly and severely.
Harsha was a marked man and was on the radar of Islamists since 2015. Several Muslim groups on social media platforms had incited its followers to act against Harsha for sharing anti-Muslim and anti-Islam posts. One group called Karawali Muslims had even offered to share more information about Harsha if anyone approaches it. Just before he was murdered, Harsha participated in an anti-hijab protest demanding a uniform dress code in pre-university colleges. He even donned a saffron scarf along with other protesters. Even the JDS has termed the details in charge sheet as damning and have asked government to take strict action.
The charge sheet which was filed by NIA is absolutely very scary because it really shows that there was a particular group which was trying to target a particular community, which is a very scary thing. Karnataka was, is and should be a very peaceful place. We urge the state government and the central government to take stringent, strongest possible action.
Let's open this up. We have S. Prakash of the Bharatiya Janata Party joining us in the broadcast. Sriraj Nair, national spokesperson of the VHP, is with us. Danish Qureshi continues to be with us. He's a political analyst. We're also joined by Syed Masood Ul Hassan, a political analyst. Good evening to all of you. Syed Masood Ul Hassan, I'm sure you've heard details of the charge sheet of how this was a plot to terrorize the Hindu community and the chants that, the slogans that were chanted when Harsha was being murdered. Is this not Hindu phobia? Is this not anti-Hindu propaganda at play?
Yeah, you may call that it is anti-Hindu propaganda, but we have to see those things on which all the plot has been made. It is the sole responsible for this mishap is Nupur Sharma and nobody else. As the Supreme Court had already said that the Nupur Sharma is the sole responsible for all the hatred which is going on in the country, and the government of BJP in the center on those states where there is BJP the governing body is there. That government is also
Mr.
responsible for these kind of.
Mr. Hassan, are you justifying the brutal manner in which Harsha was hacked to death? So if you don't agree with somebody, agree with somebody participating in a protest, if you don't agree with their ideology, if you don't like them participating in an anti-hijab protest, hang them to death.
I'm just saying that government doesn't take its course of action against Nupur Sharma, then that is the reason why this all had happened.
Harsha also hacked to death for the same reason. S. Prakash, though questions need to be asked to the BJP. questions need to be asked to the BJP about the law and order situation. Ultimately, it is the government that is responsible for the law and order situation.
No, first of all, I would like to say thank that terror apologist who spoke to me before me. He did not accuse BJP or Nupur Sharma for the partition killings by Muslim of Hindu community even in 1947. Thank you, sir. And Harsha was killed by the fundamentalist, Praveen Nettur was killed by a fundamentalist, and instead of deploring such incidents, he is justifying it shamelessly on a national channel. If the similar incident had happened otherwise, what he would have said about it? And it is very unfortunate. We should deplore all these incidents irrespective of the religion he is attached to, whether it is Hindu or Muslim. The law and order should take highest place. We should not differentiate between Hindu and Muslim when somebody is murdered. And these people who come on channel and speak in favor of these killers are responsible for spreading unrest in the country, who are responsible for creating arrest. Please,
okay, please Mr. Hassan, one second. Let S. Prakash finish his point. You asked him a question about law and order. He is responding. Please, don't heckle your panelists. Let him respond. Yes, S. Prakash.
Should I speak or should?
Yes, S. Prakash, go ahead.
Law and order is certainly the state responsibility. Law and order is state responsibility in both the murders, with regards to the Harsha and Praveen Nettur. All those who were involved in the crime has already been arrested and the charge sheet has been filed now. The government is giving most importance to all these incidents and ensuring these culprits are punished at the earliest. They should not let it go. And moreover, the PFI and STPI needs to be curbed. It is their
but again that also will have to be done. That also will have to be done by the state government and will have to be done by the center. Who else is going to do it?
I definitely agree with it. The state government has already provided enough evidences to ban PFI and SDPI, who are linked to the killing of many Hindu youths in Karnataka. More than 15 people are responsible for murdering. Definitely, this organization must be curbed. Not only that, those who are
it's interesting you are saying that you provided all the evidence and that it should happen, but it's your government in the state and at the center as well. But I want to draw your attention to the larger issue here, which is a dangerous design that is now emerging in the country. Danish Qureshi, slogans like Kafir Bajrang Dal Wale Ko Maro were chanted when Harsha was hacked to death. Shouldn't such radical elements be called out that, malign the image of the entire community? Why justified by saying kyunki waisa hua tha, that's why this is happening?
Swati, one thing is that nobody has right to kill anybody. No one has right to kill any citizen of the country, because life is not given by anyone, that has been given by the God. Now the thing is, this is the battle between the two fanatic groups, one which is affiliated with Bajrang Dal gang and other with local Muslim gang. Now it has been promoted by the state government that they have given a hype to the such murder, which were the rival gang and fighting with each other in a number of time. You can see number of time they fought in the jail, even in outside also. Now the thing is, the people, those who are involved in this.
Are you saying this was a gang war?
Yes, बिल्कुल. देख लीजिए, आप पता कर लीजिए.
I am going by what the NIA is
जेल में भी लड़ चुके हैं. दोनों rival gang जो है वो जेल में.
I am going by what the NIA is saying. The NIA says this was done to terrorize the entire Hindu community. That is their assessment.
Swati, NIA is not a court and he has not given a judgment.
It is an investigating agency. It is an investigating agency that has done its investigation and then prepared this charge sheet.
Number of times.
Whatever you are making allegation, you are
okay, but let court decide that what is the fact in this charge sheet. after the 750 pages that has been filed by the National Investigative Agency. Let the court decide.
For the authority to accuse Hindu group.
Sorry, no, you can't decide. Even I can't decide. No, this is not about accusing Hindu group. This is all about the fight between two rivalry gangs, which has been painted by. This is
Danish Qureshi, you're trying to.
Where do you have the document?
You're just trying to. One second, Danish Qureshi, you're just trying to give it a gang war color. You're saying this is gang war, personal enmity, and has nothing to do with Hindu community or Muslim community. The investigating agency says otherwise. I want to bring in Sriraj Nair. Sriraj Nair, Danish Qureshi said this is about a war between the Bajrang Dal and the local Muslim gang. That's what he says. Has nothing to do with the community, whereas the NI on the other hand says the larger design was to terrorize the Hindu community.
See, there is definitely a war, but the war is between the radicalized Islam versus the basic human civilization. We all know the world is suffering from the radicalized Islam, and the worst part is there are people who can speak good English, people who are little educated, they come and justify that this is all happening because of Nupur Sharma. Now all these years radicalized Muslims have been killing innocent people all over the world, and that is happening because of Nupur Sharma. The problem here again and again we are telling, the Muslim leadership is the biggest problem, who are helping this radicalized Islamists to ensure that they become anti-nationals and they become liability to the nation. Now they all know that the entire Muslim community is facing school dropouts issues, they have unemployment, they have poverty.
But aren't you generalizing?
Which a human being should not
face. Aren't you generalizing and looking at everyone with the...
They are helping the radicalized Muslims.
Aren't you generalizing this and looking at everyone with the same glasses and the same parameters?
30 seconds. No, it's not. And victim crying is against the biggest problem. See how many number of Hindus who have been barbarically butchered by these radicalized Muslims, and again they have the audacity to come on national TV and victim cry. And there are political parties who, because they want Muslim votes, they are justifying and appeasing this kind of terror mongers and indirectly and directly promoting terrorism. That is the biggest problem. It is high time, we have been saying, the PFI, SDPI, this kind of radical terrorist organization should be banned.
Otherwise, but again, Mr. Nair, that is not going to be done by you and me.
Bajrang Dal activists.
That is not the ban on the organizations that you are demanding is not going to be done by you and me. That is going to be done by the authorities, by the state government, by the center. Mr. Hassan wants to come in. Mr. Hassan, Mr. Nair is saying that the Muslim leadership needs to take a more proactive role and call out such elements.
First of all, I would like to answer him, who is speaking just before me. He is targeting the whole Muslim community, and he is targeting the whole Islam as a religion. So I want to say that it is only because of those radical Hindus that these all things are happening. Just shut up and just listen.
Okay, 1 second. There's no need to get so aggressive. 1 second. There's no need to get aggressive. There is no need to get aggressive. Nobody is generalizing the entire community or maligning the entire community. But if there are elements, I did ask him a counter question. Maybe you were not listening. I did ask him a counter question if he was generalizing the entire community and maligning the entire community. So, Mr. Hassan, listen to me now. If there are elements within the community, if there are some elements who are radicalized, if there are some elements who are taking law into their own hands and are maligning the entire community, shouldn't they be called out?
Dude, does he want to say that all the killings...
1 second, Mr. Nair, 1 second. Mr. Nair, 1 second.
A person,
please, Mr. Nair, 1 second, let him respond.
He is Hindu. Actually, he is from Bajrang Dal, and that's why he is speaking like this.
You please go ahead.
A person, whether he is Hindu, whether he is Muslim, whether he is a Sikh, he is a Christian or a Jew, in the Indian Constitution, it is viewed with the same eye. Not with a glass of Hindu and Muslim, like Mr. Nair was speaking just before me. Anybody who is doing the murder on any kind of these kind of things, the law will take its action.
Absolutely, and that should be the stand.
Nupur Sharma
now, see, you justify when you bring in. You justify when you bring in, and when you resort to ifs and buts, Mr. Hassan. The Constitution looks at everybody with the same glass with the same parameter. I appreciate that stand of yours, but then you start justifying it. Then you contradict yourself and you start justifying it.
This is just no, I'm not justifying it.
How is it not justification? How is this not justification? You just cited the Constitution. You just cited the Constitution. You just said that the Constitution does not differentiate between people based on their religion, and then you go on to resort to ifs and buts, and then you ultimately justify what is happening.
Tell me, did you believe in Supreme Court or not? Did you believe in Supreme Court or not?
Everybody believes in the apex court of this country.
Then why you are...
So why are you challenging the judgment given by those two judges of Supreme Court?
One second. It was about clubbing of the cases. It was about clubbing of the cases. There was no verdict. First of all, Mr. Hassan, there was no verdict. The cases are still on. The cases are still on. Everybody respects the Supreme Court. Nobody is generalizing and maligning the entire Muslim community. But you are justifying.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्टेटमेंट दिया ना, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा ना, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्टेटमेंट दिया।
उसी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बाद में ये भी कहा, कि केसेस को क्लब कीजिए, उसी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बाद में जो कहा वो मत भूलिए। आप बाद में जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा वो मत भूलिए। एक तरफा बात मत कीजिए, एक तरफा बात और एक तरफा जो फैक्ट्स हैं उनको मत रखिए, दोनों बात कीजिए। I am asking you a question about Harsha being hacked, about the slogans that are being raised, and what the NI is saying in its charge sheet. NI says this was being done to terrorize the entire Hindu community. Shouldn't you be calling out such elements instead of justifying?
I was just said that anybody who had done the murder will have its punishment according to the Constitution of India. I had already made that statement.
Yes, but then you resort to ifs and buts and you start bringing in other points and say this is happening because somebody said so. These murders are happening because somebody said something.
I'm just asking why Nupur Sharma is...
This way everybody will go on a rampage, sir. This way everybody will go on a rampage. जस्ट बिकॉज आप मेरी बातों से अग्री नहीं करते, आपको अग्रेसिव होने का अधिकार नहीं है, वायलेंस करने का अधिकार नहीं है. दैट इज ऑल्सो व्हाट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन सेज.
मैं वायलेंस नहीं कर रहा.
आप नहीं कर रहे हैं. आई एम जस्ट, आप नहीं कर रहे हैं. मैं एक पॉइंट रख रही हूँ, आपको एक बात बताने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ. आई एम जस्ट काउंटरिंग व्हाट यू सेड.
आप वायलेंस होने में मदद कर रहे हैं.
मैं आप सिर्फ इतना कह रहा हूं कि आप मैं किसी रिलीजन की बेइज्जती करूं, मैं हिंदू धर्म की बेइज्जती करूं, किसी हिंदू को पसंद आएगा?
किसी को नहीं पसंद आएगा. और उसके लिए अदालतें बनी है, वहां जाइए, उस शख्स को घसीटिए अदालत में. लीगली जो होना चाहिए. सड़क पर फैसला नहीं होना चाहिए. किसी की हत्या नहीं कर दी चाहिए जस्ट बिकॉज यू डोंट अग्री विद देयर व्यूज, देयर बिलीव्स एंड देयर आइडियोलॉजी. थैंक यू वेरी मच जेंटलमैन फॉर जॉइनिंग अस. दैट्स ऑल द टाइम आई हैव फॉर यू.
Welcome to this Times Now special broadcast. In today's episode of Inside Karnataka, we discuss about the upcoming BBMP election. What do these polls mean for the citizens of Silicon City? What's at stake for the political parties? We give you all these details and much more in the next half an hour of this special broadcast.
Bengaluru, the capital city of Karnataka, has a robust culture of civic activism. It's also an IT hub and in many ways a symbol of the vast strides India has made in the last few decades in the field of technology. It's a cosmopolitan city attracting talent from all parts of the country, a huge recipient of foreign investment, and a place that also stands out for its pleasant weather and greenery. But there are serious questions to be asked of the city's civic governance. Is Bengaluru's infrastructure really commensurate with its status as an international city? What of those tasked with the responsibility of ensuring an efficient municipal administration? Why is it that Bengaluru continues to be afflicted by serious civic apathy, not on the part of its citizens, but its administrators?
When it comes to the BBMP elections, and of course with the elections around the corner, we definitely have to talk about politics, and we have. But what are the core issues that plague the BBMP? What are the problems that the Bangaloreans really want addressed? To talk more about this, I have two prominent Bengalurians here with me. Srinivas, who's a very prominent civic activist from Bengaluru with Janagra at the moment. Also Ian Faria, life coach, and also a very popular face in the city. Thank you to both of you all for joining us on this special broadcast. Firstly to you, Srinivas, what are the biggest issues that plague the BBMP and Bengaluru?
Deepak, the depends on who you ask. Bengaluru now has 1.4 crore population. Our own Janagra survey shows that water, for example, is a big issue for the poor, whereas water is not at all issue for the rich. Footpaths are a common issue across rich, poor, men, women, age group, younger, older people. Traffic, everyone thinks traffic is a big problem, but only for the rich people. Not so much for the lower middle class and the poor people. Traffic doesn't feature as a big issue. The development of Bengaluru has become unequal. We found out that 97% of people know the name of the Prime Minister. 89% could name the Chief Minister. Not even 13% could name the last mayor of Bengaluru. So that reflects the overall understanding citizens have about city governance itself, the third tier of governance. So their lack of understanding that such a thing exists translate into lack of participation in
Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina in Delhi today. Both the countries signed 7 key MOUs. After CBI, now ED steps up heat on Delhi Deputy CM Manish Sisodia in the Delhi excise policy case, conducts raids in over 30 locations. Sisodia reiterated nothing will be found. For the third consecutive day, several roads remain waterlogged and rain-battered Bengaluru. A 23-year-old woman also lost her life after being electrocuted.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shiv Shankar.
Malvas Gopalakrishnan. Ladies and gentlemen, from Assam to UP, the push to modernize madrasas has only gained momentum in the last couple of weeks. On one hand, there's a crackdown of illegal madrasas linked to terror, while on the other, there's a thrust to regularize and reform the madrasas. While hardliners and opposition continue to stall the attempt to bring a badlav, today on the NewsHour, we will reveal why it's the need of the hour. Now, Times Now has accessed a sensational report by the Child Rights Panel that decodes how madrasas are receiving lump sum donations, but the spending on food or quality nourishment of children is actually on the decline. This NCPCR report states that the cost of feeding children has gone down by 50%. The overall donations received amount to over 10,000 crores. But where's the money going if the funds received are in surplus? The report captures the time period from June 2021 to this year. It states that madrasas received over 8,000 crore rupees in zakat, which is religious charity mandated by Islam. Funds received at the end of Ramzan were over 900 crores, while donations received after Eid al-Adha were around 1,200 crore rupees. But still, the cost of feeding madrasa children went down by 50%. Listen in to what the NCPCR chief had to say when we spoke to him regarding this.
हमारी रिपोर्ट ये बताती है कि ग्रेजुअली मदरसों की इनकम में इजाफा हुआ है, लेकिन बच्चों के खाने और खुराक पे जो खर्च कर रहे थे उसमें 50% तक की गिरावट आई है। साफ साफ बात यह है कि बच्चों की सिचुएशन पैथेटिक है, बच्चों की सिचुएशन वहाँ पे अच्छी नहीं है। यहाँ तक कि हमारी रिपोर्ट ये भी बताती है कि वहाँ जो सिलेबस है वो सिलेबस औरंगज़ेब के ज़माने में औरंगज़ेब का बनवाया हुआ है जो वहाँ पे चल रहा है। मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि मदरसों के नाम पर एक बड़ी फंडिंग कलेक्ट की जाती है, जाहिर है जिसका इस्तेमाल बच्चों के लिए नहीं हो रहा है।
Sam, a different picture was playing out. Locals took matters into own hands in Golpara district. They demolished a madrasa alleging that the building was used by two Bangladeshi nationals for terror activities. This is the fourth madrasa demolished in the last 1 month. At least 7 madrasa terror modules have been busted in Assam in the last 4 to 5 months. But the Congress has shot a letter to the minority panel alleging that the demolition of madrasas is illegal. But it deviates and deflects when asked about the madrasa fund report. Listen in.
फंडिंग अगर आ रही है और उसका मिसयूज हो रहा है तो भारत सरकार की एजेंसीज क्या कर रही हैं और ये जांच एक बृहत्तर रूप से सभी के लिए हो। मदरसे तो शिक्षा के मंदिर हैं, डोनेशंस जारी हैं, सारी जांच के दायरे में आनी चाहिए। सारी एनजीओज को आप जांच के दायरे में लाइए और उसके बाद एक सम्यक और संवैधानिक कार्रवाई कीजिए। सिर्फ वोट लेने के लिए खबरें मत बनाइए, ये खतरनाक है।
हमारा ये कहना है कि कोई भी कमीशन जब कोई फैक्ट फाइंडिंग कमेटी का रिपोर्ट बनाता है उसका पहला शर्त होता है साइंटिफिक टेम्पर पे उसको नापना कि आपके पास फैक्ट क्या है। सरकार की हैसियत नहीं है कि वो भारत के लोगों को पढ़ा सके। सरकार टोटल ध्रुवीकरण, पोलराइजेशन का काम करना चाहती है।
However, even the hardliner clerics are in no mood to give legitimacy to a report which highlights glaring lapses. Listen.
कोई भी चीज को हमेशा सही करने की और सही है तो और अच्छा करने की हमेशा गुंजाइश रहती है। आपने देखा ना कि आसाम में क्या हुआ है, तो अब वो तरीका अगर इख्तियार किया जाएगा तो वो तो नाजायज होगा, नामुनासिब होगा। चीज को ठीक करना है, खत्म तो नहीं करना।
अब हमें नहीं मालूम कि ये इन्होंने इन्फॉर्मेशन कहाँ से गैदर की है। जनरली आप भी जानते हैं सैंपल सर्वे के तौर पे चंद मदरसों या चंद जगहों को से इन्फॉर्मेशन गैदर करके रिपोर्ट लोग बना लेते हैं। लिहाजा इस बात को हम मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं कि 50% ही पैसा इस्तेमाल होता है। लिहाजा हम लोग अपने रिसोर्सेज से इन मदरसों को चला रहे हैं, अवामी चंदे से चला रहे हैं। लिहाजा बेहतर यही है कि इन मदरसों के साथ कोई छेड़छाड़ ना की जाए तो बेहतर है।
मुख्य डिसीजन यह है कि हम मदरसों के ताल्लुक से जो एक गलत इमेज बनाने की कोशिश की जा रही है उसको दूर करेंगे। हम कंप्लायंसेस के ऊपर पूरी तरह से गवर्नमेंट के साथ हैं, जो कंप्लायंसेस हैं वो होना चाहिए, लेकिन हम उसी के साथ साथ इस बात का भी विरोध करते हैं कि मदरसों को टारगेट करके ऐसा इमेज नहीं बनाना चाहिए कि जैसे कोई मदरसा गलत काम कर रहा है।
And that brings me to the legitimate question they're asking this evening. Are we blocking reform to secure votes in this country?
You're watching the NewsHour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
go across to our guests for more on the story. We have with us Priyank Kanungo, the NCPCR chairman. With us also is Dr. Anand Raghunathan, author. Shantanu Gupta is with us. He's an author as well. Professor Atikur Rahman is a political analyst. With us also is Tausif Ahmed, lawyer. Sanjay Jha, author, is with us, as is Sameer Singh of the Samajwadi Party. Let me bring in Professor Atikur Rahman. And Professor Atikur Rahman, let me begin by asking you a simple question. A few days ago, we saw the reaction from a prominent leader of the AIMIM, a member of parliament even, Asduddin Owaisi, who calls this a chota NRC. Now, if the funds are there, if the institutions are flush with 10,000 crore rupees, as the NCPCR estimates, that's a significant sum of money. And despite that, if the actual spending on basic things like food is going down by over 50%, this is a serious cause for worry. That things somewhere, for whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is, but somewhere there is some kind of mismanagement going on. Because the people who should be receiving the benefit of those funds, or perhaps better facilities they could have been utilized for, better books, better infrastructure, better washrooms even, for instance, all that is not happening. Money is actually being returned. What's going on?
Madhav, I would not, go into some hiding and ifs and buts. The simple proposition is, if you want to raise the stature of the kids and the children studying in the madrasas, as rightly the NCPRC, suggests, why don't we pull them by the shoulders rather than pulling their legs? A simple proposition. Whenever we contribute, Madhav, to the madrasas, the community is all the time behind the madrasas and their managements to show what on exactly they are earmarking the funds given by the community. And it's a very, very deep fight between the community and the madrasas, that yes, even by, by their wishes and this thing, they are unable to completely take all the funds into nutrition. Because besides nutrition also, there are other areas wherein they have to divert their funds. And herein comes the government of the states, even the NGOs. If there is a problem of malnutrition, is, Madhav, tell me, the problem of malnutrition not in other schools? And that is why the midday meal schemes are there, and everywhere the midday meal schemes are a facade.
Okay.
Every time, day in and day out.
Let me bring in Priyank Kanungo. Okay, you're making that point. You're making a point that this is not a problem only restricted to madrasas, but is there in other schools as well. Priyank Kanungo, what would you say to Atikur Rahman, who says that this problem with midday meal schemes is not limited to madrasas? It is there in other schools. And there are reports in certain schools where such quality standards have been, reported. There have been scams reported, for instance. Do you agree with Professor Atikur Rahman, who says that this is not limited only to madrasas and don't restrict it only to madrasas, but it's a larger problem in the education sector? Priyank Kanungo.
मैं एक बात यहाँ पे आपको सबसे पहले स्पष्ट करना चाहूँगा कि मिड डे मील जो है वो बच्चों का इंटाइटलमेंट है। राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट बच्चों को मिड डे मील देने के लिए बोलता है, वो इंटाइटलमेंट के रूप में बच्चों को दिया जाता है, बच्चों का हक है, अधिकार है। हम उन मदरसों की बात कर रहे हैं जो अनरिकग्नाइज्ड हैं, जो अनमैप्ड हैं, और अनफॉर्चुनेटली बच्चे वहाँ पे मिड डे मील से महरूम हैं। क्या अतीकुर रहमान साहब नहीं चाहते कि बच्चों को मिड डे मील मिले, बच्चों को किताबें मिलें? और ऐसे बच्चों की संख्या बहुत बड़ी है, ऐसे बच्चे 1 करोड़ 10 लाख से ज़्यादा हैं। हम भी तो वही बात कह रहे हैं कि जो बच्चे अभी तक मेन स्ट्रीम होने से महरूम हैं, उनको कम से कम ये बेसिक्स तो मिलना चाहिए। यही अगर रिकग्नाइज हो जाएंगी, यही अगर मेन स्ट्रीम हो जाएंगे, तो ये इंटाइटलमेंट्स के लाभ बच्चों को मिलने लगेंगे। हम और क्या कह रहे हैं, यही तो कह रहे हैं।
All right, quick response. Atikur Rahman, you want to respond to that? Quick response from you, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Priyank. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जो आपने इतनी केयर की इन मुसलमान बच्चों की और मदरसों की। यही तो बात कही गई थी उस रिपोर्ट के अंदर जो साचर कमेटी में आई थी, कमीशन में आई थी, कि मुस्लिम्स का जो डाउनफॉल है, जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है, उसको लाने में सरकारें विफल रही है। उस पर हमारी जो आज की सरकार है, उसने क्या इल्जाम लगाया था उस वक्त के प्रधानमंत्री पर? और सैचर कमीशन ने एक और सजेशन दिया था, इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटीज कमीशन का कहां है? कौन सी सरकारों ने कोशिश की है उन कमीशंस को लाने में? इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटीज कमीशन कौन सी ऐसा समुदाय है जो तरक्की याफ्ता नहीं होना चाहता है, जो साइंटिफिक टेम्परामेंट नहीं चाहता है, जो अपने बच्चों के लिए अच्छा नरिशमेंट नहीं चाहता है? सरकारें
क्यों बात कर रहे हैं?
Okay.
साल से
क्यों चिल्ला रहे थे?
बातें सुन रहे हैं प्रियंक जी।
Okay. You asked your
मेरा
question.
जवाब तो ले लीजिए।
You asked your question. Now he
मेरी
wants to
आवाज
respond
ही
to it.
ऐसी है, दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण।
Okay. You made your point. Now प्रियंक जी जवाब दीजिए।
अच्छा, देखिए जस्टिस सच्चर कमेटी की रिपोर्ट में मदरसे में पढ़ने वाले बच्चों की जो संख्या ली गई थी, अनफॉर्चुनेटली उस वक्त की सरकार से और सच्चर कमेटी की रिपोर्ट में डेटा लेने का क्या गड़बड़ हुआ, लेकिन उन्होंने जिन मदरसों की संख्या ली वो मदरसे थे जिनको यूडाइस कोड हासिल था, यानी जो रिकॉग्नाइज्ड मदरसे थे। अनरिकॉग्नाइज्ड अनमैप्ड मदरसे सच्चर कमेटी की रिपोर्ट में शामिल नहीं हैं। ये बच्चे इनविजिबल हैं, इनके ऊपर प्लीज रोशनी डालने दीजिए, इनको मेन स्ट्रीम होने दीजिए, रुकावट मत डालिए, इतनी सी बात है।
All right. Let me bring in other panelists now. Tausif Ahmed, the larger question is of reform, and this reform is something particularly in the unmapped sector, which is in fact something that is beyond the purview of the government. If the central schemes like right to education, the midday meal scheme, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, all of these have to reach those schools at some level or the other, they would have to be mapped, they have to be brought into at least the radar of the governments, which is currently not the case, and that's the point that the NCPCR is making.
You see, we all know, the records show that the government schemes and the benefits meant under those government schemes have failed to reach the institutions which are already under the radar of the government. Institutions which are aided by the government, they have failed. The teachers of those schools and madrasas which are aided by the government the teachers of those institutions have failed to get money from the government.
So by that logic, sir, the government should not try to do anything good for society.
Does not
government should shut shop for any, I mean, leave alone madrasas. We should shut down Manrega, we should shut down all subsidies for fertilizers, everything in this country. What kind of logic is that, sir? Yes, there may have been some failings, but surely we can't throw the baby out with the bath water.
I understand your compulsion to support BJP, Madhav.
There is no compulsion. It's not about BJP or Congress. Even if there's a Congress government tomorrow. One second, Tausi, please get my point. No, you can't get away by making an allegation. If there's a Congress government tomorrow also, the same logic applies. Governments have to try
I will make the allegation again. You finish?
No. 1 second. Please be a little logical and don't unnecessarily get emotional.
Government already has a duty.
There is a way in which governments work, sir. Can we just say tomorrow that governments have failed to deliver?
I don't need a certificate of logic from your channel. Now
what kind of logic is this?
Don't interrupt me.
No, obviously you're selling half truths on national television.
Are you done? Now give me uninterrupted 1 minute.
But please talk sense. Don't
you are telling half truths on
national television.
Why are you not talking about
don't speak
corruption in
national television,
corruption in Ram Janambhumi Trust?
Don't speak
why are you not talking about
national television? We have debated all the stories. Please don't teach me
No, you are telling half truth. You are telling half truth.
Not at all.
I am
We are
speaking
quoting
the
an
full truth.
NCPCR report and asking for reform. And that reform can be in any religion. It's not restricted to one. It's about a government scheme and how government schemes function.
You don't behave like this generally, Madhav.
Neither do you, for that matter.
I understand you are very mirchified by my statement, but yet I will continue. I will repeatedly say what is fact. The fact is that Mahant Dharam Das had lodged a written complaint about the corruption in the fund collected for Ram Janambhumi, about the misuse of that fund. What action has government taken? If government really wants to reform, yes, they must reform. What is this reform? This report that you're talking about, I heard the report that was played on your channel. What does the report say? The report says that there is corruption. On what basis? On the basis of some sampling. What is the percentage of sampling? What is the criteria of selection of those madrasas for sampling? That is not clear. Secondly, what the report says is that the syllabus is from Aurangzeb's time. No, that is wrong. This is a lie that the syllabus is from Aurangzeb's time. The syllabus is from Prophet Muhammad's time. The Quran which we have received from Prophet Muhammad's time will remain so. Centuries will come and go, but the text of the Quran will not change. The syllabus of Hadith and Quran will not change. It will remain so.
Will you change the text of the Gita and other religious texts of other religion? You will not.
Well, sir, I will only say this. I will only say this, sir, that along with traditional education, modern education can be given alongside scientific education can be given. I don't see how the two are in conflict, but since you have raised questions about the methodology of the report, I'm going to bring in Priyank Kanungo. Okay, you made your point. Priyank Kanungo, questions are being raised about the methodology of the findings. How have you reached this conclusion of 10,000 crores? You have only sampled very few madrasas. That's the allegation coming from Tausif. Quickly respond to him, please. जवाब दीजिए.
देखिए, मैं आपको बताता हूँ, भारत में 2011 के सेंसस के अकॉर्डिंग जो आउट ऑफ स्कूल बच्चों की नंबर है वो 8.4 करोड़ है, ठीक है। उस सेंसस के अकॉर्डिंग 6 से 14 साल की बच्चों की जो संख्या है वो 25 करोड़ है। तो परसेंटेज ऑफ आउट ऑफ स्कूल कितना हो गया? 33% हो गया। तो टोटल नंबर ऑफ मुस्लिम चिल्ड्रन कितने हैं? 3.8 करोड़ हैं। 3.8 करोड़ में से 33% हटाएंगे तो 1.1 करोड़, एक कैलकुलेशन जो मदरसों में पढ़ रहे हैं बच्चे, ठीक है। फिर जो अभी जस्टिस सच्चर साहब की कमेटी का जिक्र हो रहा था, जिसने केवल यूडाइज कोड को ही अपने डेटा सोर्स के लिए लिया था, हम उसी पे चलते हैं। वो बोलते हैं 4% मुस्लिम चिल्ड्रन अटेंड मदरसा दोज हु आर हैविंग ए यूडाइज कोड, दोज हु आर वेल रिकॉग्नाइज्ड, वो है 15.3 lakhs। रिमेनिंग मुस्लिम चिल्ड्रन इन अदर इंस्टीट्यूशन और आउट ऑफ स्कूल, दैट मीन्स 3.7 करोड़। एनरोलमेंट जो मुस्लिम बच्चों का है एज पर यूडाइस वो है 2015-16 में वो है 2.7 करोड़, दैट मीन्स नॉन एनरोल्ड कितने हुए? 1.1 करोड़। एक और कैलकुलेशन देख लीजिए, 15-16 में टोटल एनरोलमेंट है 19.7%, परसेंटेज ऑफ एनरोलमेंट ऑफ मुस्लिम चिल्ड्रन बताता है यूडाइस 13.8%, एनरोलमेंट ऑफ मुस्लिम चिल्ड्रन बताता है 2.7 करोड़। तो टोटल नंबर ऑफ मुस्लिम चिल्ड्रन इन इंडिया वो है 3.8 करोड़। 3.8 करोड़ में से मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ ना, अब सुनिए तो मेरी बात, 3.8 करोड़ में से जब आप 2.7 करोड़ को माइनस करते हैं तो कितना आता है? 1.1 करोड़ आता है। दीज आर द कैलकुलेशन बेस्ड ऑन द अवेलेबल डेटा। अब इस रिपोर्ट पे अगर किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप हमारे दफ्तर आ जाइए, हम आपको रॉ डेटा दिखा देंगे सारा का सारा। हमने 16 शहरों में जाकर जो मुस्लिम डेंस पॉपुलेशन वाले शहर है वहाँ मदरसे में पढ़ने वाले बच्चों से बात की है, उनके साथ कंसल्टेटिव मीटिंग्स की हैं। आप मेरे रिपोर्ट के पेज नंबर 95 पे आकर अगर देखेंगे तो उसमें से कुछ सैंपल्स हमने लिखे हुए हैं, बच्चे हमसे बोले हैं। हमसे एक बच्ची 12 साल की दिल्ली में बोली है, यस ये कम्युनिटी विल थिंक अबाउट इट कि बच्चों का पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है। और ये देखिए बच्चे जो हैं वो देश के बच्चे हैं, और बच्चों का आर्टिकल 21A में जो राइट है, मेरी बात समझने की कोशिश करिए कि आर्टिकल 21A में बच्चों को राइट टू एजुकेशन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन देता है। सरकार की ड्यूटी है ये जानना कि बच्चों को उनके हक और हुकूक मिले। इसमें किसी को क्या सवाल हो सकता है?
All right. There are a number of questions. I don't want to get into a larger debate. Yes, all right.
आप राइट टू एजुकेशन से महरूम रखने के लिए कोई भी, आप बच्चों को महरूम रखने के लिए कोई भी दलील नहीं दे सकते, है ना?
All right. Let me now quickly bring another panelist.
रखने के लिए तो कर्नाटका में हिजाब पे बैन कर दिया.
All right, hijab and I think these are two completely different things. Let's please not dilute this debate. Tausif, let's not dilute this debate, please. Let me bring in other panelists now. Sanjay Jha, important question that I want to ask over here at this moment is this: the government says that they are wanting to go ahead in the process of reform. Now the opposition coming in is that this is only the many allegations coming in. There are questions of course that Tausif is asking about the methodology, but the government says that they have done the math and it's on the basis of this that they're going ahead preparing reports and asking for these reforms to be implemented. In your view, is there something prima facie wrong with these reforms being implemented?
Well, Madhav, two very quick points. Number one, the government, if it says that there is a problem with the madrasas and the education there has been substandard, then it needs to recognize that the whole humbug of minority appeasement then stands exposed. You can't have the cake and eat it too. At one point, the BJP-led government says there is minority appeasement, the Muslims are getting preferential treatment. Well, clearly they are not, right? So I think the BJP needs to be very clear. Cut out your political hypocrisy or tell the people of India that your intent is not to really improve the standards of madrasas, which may be a very legitimate concern, but really to ultimately polarize the country for electoral gains. The second point is very relevant. And I don't think, Madhav, because you're holding a very serious program, let's not miss the woods for the trees. I'll give you an interesting anecdote that I think is very relevant for today's discussion. Why are we only looking at Madrasa? And why are we not recognizing that over 350 million people in our country are actually deemed illiterate? And that majority, by the way, is a majority population. What is the BJP doing about it? There's an anecdote I need to share with you. It will make you laugh. This, by the way, belongs to a BJP state. I think Mr. Shantanu Gupta and others may be aware of it. Where one teacher literally has been teaching in 25 different schools at the same time. At the same time, one guy. And that tells you the kind of scams with the education sector. Can we look at the data? I have all of it. I can put it out. I don't want to bore the people with stat. Look at the number of teachers per school. Look at the number of blackboards per school. And I'm very happy to say that the party that I have supported and continue to do so, whether it's the right to education, or whether it is the midday schemes were brought in by the Congress government, which actually did not bring any religious discrimination and did not waste this time talking about madrasas or non-madrasas. That madrasas will support. I'm not going to even deny it. But the BJP's intent is always just one, is to create some kind of a religious context so that they ultimately make it aware that the minority institutions that are not recognized are probably doing this activity.
I'm going to come to each. Number of points you've raised over there. There are several of our panelists who still not spoken. I'm going to come to you, Shantanu, in just a minute. I want Dr. Anand Raghunathan to respond to that because several points being made over here. That all of this is happening only to create divides in society. That this is happening with a particular intent. That BJP is being, less than honest with the truth because it can't say that there is a community that is, at one level is pandered to by the so-called secular parties. On the other hand, saying that they are backward in other respects. How do you look at all of these and these divisions in terms of the questions that's being raised by Sanjay Jha? Dr. Raghunathan.
Madhav, I have been listening very patiently to all my fellow panelists, so please, I expect a courtesy of 2 minutes of uninterrupted time. Madhav, I have to say this, that finally in Yogi Adityanath and Himanta Biswa Sarma, we have two chief ministers who are taking steps towards true secularism and not this sham variety this country has been practicing on the back of our pseudo-secular constitution. One, how can someone object to religious schools' income sources being audited? Are we a banana republic? And if the amount as claimed by Mr. Kanungu is in excess of 10,000 crores, half of it from secret sources, this is not just an educational or auditing issue, I'm afraid. This is a national security issue. Number two, the state has no business running religious schools. Secularism is total separation of religious and state. भाई डिक्शनरी लेके आऊं क्या, समझाऊं आप लोगों को सेकुलरिज्म का क्या मतलब होता है? Our constitution, I'm afraid, is plural, not secular. There are half a dozen articles and amendments and directive principles in our constitution that make it plural, not secular. In fact, the word secular was inserted in our preamble by Indira Gandhi during the emergency. It was absent from Ambedkar's constitution, and it is this pseudo-secularism that has allowed the state to control Hindu temples and run madrasas. In fact, it astonishes me that UP is running 514 madrasas and Assam was running 617 madrasas whose primary job was to impart Islamic education and Sharia dictats. All these schools in Assam will now be converted into regular schools. So the pupils will have a choice to either continue there and receive non-religious education like other children, or leave and join private madrasas, to which no one should have any objection, as practicing and imparting religious teachings is a constitutional bona fide right. This is a step towards promoting inclusivity, Madhav, among the minority community and should be welcomed by all Indians. Isme problem kya hai? After all, if the children were being taught verses like that haven't changed according to one panelist from 1300 years. Do not marry your women to polytheist men unless they believe in Islam 2221, or there is no deity except Allah 4062, or those who deny the Quran, their necks will be shackled and they'll be dragged in boiling water 4070, or those who disbelieve in our verses, we will drive them into a fire 456, or polytheists are the worst of creatures 98.6. If the children were being taught all this, I hope you can see the irony that here are two states accused of being Hindu Rashtra by Muslims,
teaching Muslims that Hindus are the worst of creatures and do not marry Hindus unless they convert. Well, good luck with promoting inclusivity. And finally, Madhav, just 30 seconds. Madrasas are the hotbed for terrorism, quote unquote. Who said this? No, not a Hindu, but a Muslim, Parvez Musharraf. And very finally, 10 seconds, according to one panelist who says कि भाई राम जन्मभूमि के फंडिंग में करप्शन हुआ, पहले उसको देखो फिर मदरसा का देखो. ये कैसा लॉजिक है भाई? According to that, unless we catch Vijay Mallya, then this TMC acolyte will say that Partha Chatterjee should not be investigated.
All right. Let me know a number of points over there, but let me get into the main debating points that we haven't yet covered, and that I want to take this question across to Samir Singh. The question that arises, Samir Singh, is about what has happened in Assam. Since March, over 30 arrests, 37 if I'm not mistaken, including about 7 or 8 of religious preachers, Maulvis, Imams, etc., who have been arrested in Assam, and all of them almost being linked to big terrorist organizations. That's the allegation. ACUS, ABT, Ansarul Bangla team, these are some very, very serious accusations that have at least come up in the state of Assam. I mean, that may not apply necessarily across the country, but these are certain concerns about how madrasas were being misused.
Madhav, as you correctly said, yes, there have been multiple arrests and links have been developed with terrorist outfits over multiple madrasas. But then the question again, which you said yourself, that it can't be implemented throughout the country. But yes. So the point here is that if the bulldozer action that has been taking place in Assam, Samajwadi Party or any opposition party, I don't think anybody stands, So we are not here to dilute matters of national importance or national security. If any measure has to be taken to ensure national security, that needs to be taken. But the entire point is, if that anti-national, if that terrorist has any links with any institution, is it correct to bulldoze that institution per se? Because I don't think so.
2 points on that. If I can just come in.
Numerous.
I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but just 2 points. I just want to make 2 points. 2 points which are relevant to what you just said. The first point is that the Assam government claims, and this is the government's claim entirely, I'm just going by what they claim, they say that this entire bulldozing that has happened is not because of the terrorist links, but they say it's because of illegal building structures and the complaints about the violation of the building codes, etc. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is that if there are 10,000 crores that are coming in, and the allegation of Mr. Kanungo is correct that over 50% is through unaccounted sources, does that not lend itself, as Anand Raghunathan also referred to national security issues, or the potential of misuse at least? We are not saying that everywhere there's terrorists, but at least a few misguided people could be led astray.
Definitely, Madhav, in fact, I was about to come to that. There is a lot of confusion with what is happening in UP about the madrasa reforms and the madrasa survey, and what is happening in Assam. Those two are very different things, but somehow, while the Minister of Minorities Welfare clearly states that we are only conducting this survey to understand what the current situation of the madrasas, of the non-recognized madrasas is. We want to develop, we want development of the children who are studying in the madrasas. We want to modernize these madrasas. And on the other hand, we have debate where we are actually saying that madrasas are a breeding ground for terrorists, and we want to, we want to investigate the sources that the funds are coming from, whether they have any links with the terrorist organizations or with people from outside the country. Now, if such a confusion is there, which is there in this debate today itself, because we are talking about two different things here.
There are two instances. One second. We are talking about instances in Assam and instances in UP. There's no confusion.
Madhav, please.
There's no confusion.
Madhav, 10 seconds.
Okay. Dr. Raghunathan wants to respond to you. Quick response and then I go to Dr. Shah.
Madhav, plain logic.
I'd just like to complete my.
Okay, you made your point, but okay, quickly, 10 seconds, please complete your point.
Yes. So what is happening in UP, the only reservation we have, that we're not against modernization of madrasas. You modernize madrasas, but in the meanwhile, the Samajwadi Party or the opposition would have welcomed this step if this was a blanket educational reform survey which was being conducted not only on madrasas but with every educational institutions, be it government primary schools or private coaching institutes and tuition institutes and madrasas in the same manner, and in as a consolidated reform, that because the situation of government primary schools in Uttar Pradesh is pathetic right now.
Okay.
So even they need the support of the
you made your point. You made your point. Anand,
so
quick
it needs to
response,
be
please.
conducted so that every
yes,
student
you made
can
your
get
point.
the same
Sabina, let
amount
others come in. Anand, quick response, and then Shantanu Gupta.
Yes, very quickly, 2 points. Madhav, yours is a media house. If your media house was getting a revenue of 10,000 crores and 5,000 of which was through some secret source, every panelist on this debate tonight would be grilling you, skewering you, demanding where the hell did you get those 5,000 crores from? So my question is, why the hell are madrasas any different? And number 2, I have no issue with madrasas. You see on the photos right now, the images, there are these young children who are ये ऐसे करके रट्टा लगा रहे हैं, कितना समझ रहे हैं कुछ. अगर आपको अपने बच्चों को ऐसी भेजना है जगह, आप भेजिए, लेकिन स्टेट क्यों फंड कर रहा है? I don't understand this. Are you a secular state or not? What is the definition of secularism? Secularism means there is a complete distinction between separation of church and state. Why are state governments funding such schools?
Okay, these are all pertinent questions, but before I go across, and we're almost out of time, Shantanu Gupta, quick question to you, sir. I'm just quoting very quickly from a Parliamentary Standing Committee on Human Resource Development, which submitted its report in 2021 to the Rajya Sabha. They have expressed that school education department has not used the allocated funds for providing education to madrasas over the past 3 years. This is a disturbing trend, they noted, and needs to be rectified, the panel said. In FY 2018, the allocation was 120 crores. In fact, it's the same for the next 3 years. The expenditure was 107.89 crores, utilization of 89%. In FY 19, it was 120 crores. The utilization was just 15% at 18.25 crores. And in FY 20, it was 120 crores with 63.57 crores, or a little over 50%. The question is this, that you can blame the state governments, you can blame the madrasa managements, but even the central government schemes ultimately somewhere are not working. So why only blame the madrasas?
The madrasas. We are trying to say, if all these allocations has to go where they should go, first of all, let me know what is the entity size, right? So in 2017, Yogi government started the registration. Got to know in Madrasa board there are 16,500, around 500 are supported by the government. There are 11 questions that Yogi government is doing in this survey. And what are these questions like? Who is the owner? Is the land registered? Number of teachers? Number of schools? What is the curriculum they are doing? I think there are 2 troubling questions which a lot of people are getting troubled with. One is, what is the funding source? As Dr. Anand was saying. And second is, are you linked with any other NGO and the national, international? 2017-18, Yogi government did the survey of all is 1,30,000 schools. And it's a 22-point survey of from toilets to taps to boundaries to gate to everything, and so that finally they can allocate fund block wise, district wise. So survey is done just to see what is as is, so that all the problems that we are stating can be fixed. I should know the entity before even fixing it. It's just a diagnosis report.
All right, it's just a diagnosis report. That's all right. Sanjay wants to respond to you on that quickly. Yes, Sanjay.
Yeah. I completely agree with Shantanu and with Anand on the transparency needed for who funds whichever institution, because these have serious implications. So my question to Anand then is very straightforward. The RSS, which is, by the way, one of the world's biggest NGOs, also runs a lot of children's schools, Anand. So Anand, my question to you is, do you think the RSS, its books must be audited and put out in the public domain, because it runs multiple schools? It has a massive educational infrastructure. Would you favor that his books are audited?
Okay, quick response. Almost out of time on this debate. Anand Ranganathan, quick response to that.
Absolutely. Yes, why on earth not, Sanjay? Anybody who's running any NGO, any institution has to have an audit done. And incidentally, I have written on ACL schools, and ACL schools do get their audits done. But let me ask you, is it mandatory
if the state is funding an institution for that institution to get audited, yes or no? Is the state funding RSS?
Absolutely yes. So let me ask you. So you agree,
State
right?
is funding RSS.
Kindly use your good offices.
Is the state funding
to
RSS?
Get the RSS audit done and let us put it in the
Is
public
the state
domain.
funding RSS?
All right. Let me just come in there. Because this is obviously a very heated topic. It's of course a very sensitive topic. There's no two ways about it. And there are multiple points coming in. Of course, a very shocking NCPCR report, and we'll have to see what further action comes out of this. I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us on debate number 1. Priyank Kanungo, NCPCR chairman, as well as of course Professor Atikur Rahman. We also would like to thank Tausif Ahmed for joining us. Sanjay Jha and Dr. Anand Ranganathan and Chandra Gupta stay with us for the next debate on the show this evening. All right, breaking news coming in. 48 hours after former Tata Sons president died in a fatal car mishap, Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari says that rear seat occupants not wearing a seatbelt will be penalized. A notification in this regard will be released in the next 3 days. The Union Minister asserted that because of Cyrus Mistry's accident, he has decided that alarm bells will ring even if the passengers in the rear seat are not wearing seat belts like it is for the driver's seat. There will be penalty for not wearing the seat belt in rear seats in cars.
Because of this Cyrus accident, today just we have taken a decision that there will be that clip. तो सामने पेल्ट का आवाज आता है, लगाया नहीं तो पीछे वाले भी नहीं लगाएंगे तो भी वो चिल्लाते रहेंगे, आवाज आता रहेगा, तो पीछे और सामने दोनों को बेल्ट लगाना पड़ेगा. For driver and the driver near driver seat, if you don't have belt, there is a fine. Now even the back people also, if they don't take belt, we will fine. Within 3 days we will issue the order.
All right, and moving on, in fact, as far as this particular announcement is concerned, remains to be seen how soon the notification can be rolled out. A huge safety measure indeed that is required. Now moving on, the Modi Sarkar is on a mission to purge colonial symbolism and legacy. The latest act comes as the iconic Rajpath from Rashtrapati Bhavan to India Gate is all set to be renamed the Kartavya Path. Now called Kingsway during British rule, Rajpath is the showpiece stretch for the Republic Day parade on the 26th of January every year. But the move hasn't gone down well with the opposition. Opposition's launched a scathing attack on the Modi Sarkar over the rechristening of Rajpath. The Congress has slammed the central government and said that the government's focus was not on addressing issues like unemployment or development, but on changing the names of cities and roads. TMC MP Mahua Mitra went after Prime Minister Modi and termed this latest act as megalomaniac madness.
एक बीमारी होती है, कुछ कर ना पाओ तो नाम बदल दो. भाजपा उसी बीमारी से लाइलाज रूप से ग्रसित है. शहरों के नाम बदल दो, सड़कों के नाम बदल दो. जनता जुड़ी हुई थी जनपद से, राजपथ से.
ऐसा लगता है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी और नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार वो पुरानी अपनी सभ्यता है, संस्कृति है, वो उससे उनको अच्छा नहीं लगता है, उनको घृणा है.
ये कोई नया क्रिएट करने को तैयार नहीं है. अगर इनको कर्तव्य पथ बनाना था तो एक अच्छी सड़क बनाते, एक अच्छा शहर बसाते, उसका नाम कर्तव्य पथ रखते या कर्तव्य नगर रखते तो बात समझ में आती है. लेकिन नया कोई काम नहीं करेंगे.
इससे अलग में क्या काम करेंगे वो लोग? क्या करना जानते हैं? आप नहीं जानते. विकास की बात नहीं करेंगे. रोजगार कैसे बच्चों को मिलेगा आपने सुना है? ये मस्जिद बन जाए, ये मंदिर बन जाए, ये है, ये मंदिर में क्यों चला गया, मदरसा जांच हो, इसी में लेकर हम लोग आपको उलझा देते हैं. काम की बात करें, पथ बदल दें, जिला बदल दें, अपने घर के नाम से रख दें.
Just last month, Prime Minister Modi in his Independence Day speech asserted that Indians must give up colonial era mentality and must rely on their capabilities. Another factor behind the naming of Kartavya Path is to stress on the importance of the duties of citizens.
इससे अच्छा निर्णय कोई नहीं हो सकता. राजपथ, देखिए राज तो चला गया था और जब भी इस राजपथ से गुजरते थे तो एक नकारात्मक ऊर्जा आती थी कि अंग्रेज तो जा चुके, राज तो जा चुका है, तो राजपथ यहाँ पे इसका नाम क्यों रखा है. एक्चुअली मैंने तो बहुत पहले ये मांग की थी कि इसका नाम आजाद हिंद पथ कर दिया जाए या स्वतंत्र भारत कर दिया जाए. लेकिन जो निर्णय सरकार ने लिया है मोदी जी ने कि कर्तव्य पथ किया जाए, ये भी एक बहुत अच्छा निर्णय है.
You can see on your screens how the transformation stacks up against the old pictures where old colonial traces have been removed, and clearly, of course, the revamped Central Vista appears to have, of course, a number of changes from walkways to the kind of signage, and of course the entire layout being changed is completely revamped. And certainly, of course, day after tomorrow when the Prime Minister does inaugurate the new Central Vista, we're going to see or get a closer look at what actually lies inside.
The News Hour at 9. Debate number 2 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
All right, let's take this across to our guest joining us. Tuhin Sinha is with us. He's a spokesperson of the BJP. Shantanu Gupta continues with us, as does Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Sanjay Jha, also Sameer Singh continuing with us. Syed Faisal Ali, senior leader of the RJD, joins us on the show. And let me begin with Syed Faisal Ali. Syed Faisal Ali, सवाल ये उठता है कि अगर citizens को, नागरिकों को, we just want to remind them about our duties. What's wrong with a name that just implies path of duty? इसमें objectionable क्या है? Political statement तो है नहीं है.
Madhav, I think you are a senior journalist and you should know that whatever they are doing is having a political statement. It's fully politically loaded renaming, and renaming per se is not that important. Why they are doing it? The most pressing issue which should be addressed by the government is unemployment, inflation, the social fabric which is being shattered every now and then, but the government is only aiming at those issues which are non-issues. Do you think that this Rajpath becoming Kartav Path in any way is going to make any difference in common Indian life? No, it's not. If you are trying to purge the colonial past, do it. But at least address the issues which are more pertinent and more pressing at this point of time. What I think, they are simply, because they have nothing on the table to show, they are doing all this. And one more thing, Madhav, if the Prime Minister wants him to be remembered in the history as a man who has done something concrete in India, he should do something exemplary, not changing every nook and renaming every nook and corner of the country. This is
important points. You made 2-3 points. Let me get into Tuhin Sinha on that.
They are unable to deliver on the front of every.
I got your point, Mr. Faisal Ali. Let me quickly take that question across the BJP spokesperson. You're only trying to divert from issues such as unemployment, development, which the government has not been able to deliver on. That's the allegation coming in from the RJD. And if you want to go ahead and remove colonial legacy, one second, sir. You've asked a number of questions. Please get in a response. The other panelists as well. Tuhin Sinha, you're only doing it as a diversionary tactic. That's the sum and substance of the question. Your response.
Madhav, if the opposition gets so distracted so easily, they have a concentration problem. They need to work on themselves. There are two primary reasons why the renaming of Rajpath to Kartavya Path have been done. One is it is in consonance with our sustained and determined efforts to remove all outdated symbols of our colonial past and of colonial supremacy. So recently, in fact, even the Indian naval ensign was changed to remove St. George's Cross. But the more important point is that we have had individuals and we have had regimes who have been in the habit of wielding power, enjoying power without responsibility. From here on, selfless responsibility will be the essence of wielding power. The regimes which did not wield power with responsibility, what was the result of that? Till 2014, 30 crore people did not have bank accounts. The sanitation cover was less than 40%. So I think it is a new start where all fake semblances of our colonial past will be consigned to history. And this was very well reiterated in the Honorable Prime Minister's speech also in the Independence Day. So I don't think it has anything to do with the diversionary theme, the excuses which the opposition are making. On the contrary, we have delivered on all fronts. Whether it is economic, whether it is, at a time when China is again reeling under lockdown, we have had a terrific record at vaccination. So the opposition really, if they get distracted so easily, should introspect and should work on their concentration levels.
All right, opposition should work on its concentration levels. Sameer Singh, how do you respond to the statement coming in from the BJP? The BJP says we have delivered.
Can I say something? And Madhav, I would like to add one thing.
Okay, very quickly, sir. Please, the others as well I have to go to. Quickly, very quickly.
See, the gentleman is saying, See, the record of the government during pandemic is known to everyone. We all have seen dead bodies floating in the Ganges. So they should not talk about what the country has seen. He should understand that you cannot consign your past to dustbin.
Okay.
This is what they are trying to do.
Yeah,
the whole
okay.
effort of the government is to consign the past to dustbin.
Yeah, I think the gentleman needs to understand that when you talk about India's performance in tackling COVID, that needs to be purely vis-a-vis the world. Our death per million population continues to be the lowest in the world. The prevalence of infection per million continues to be the lowest in the world. So RJD has a myopic mindset. I think it is better they don't talk about issues which they don't comprehend too well.
Freedom struggle. They have nothing to show. They have no contribution in the freedom struggle. They have done nothing.
Samir Singh, I want to bring in Samir Singh now. Samir Singh, the question that is being asked by the government, or this is what the government is saying, is that we are just changing the nomenclature to make it more acceptable and to give out the message that the era of rulers and subjects is over. Is there something prima facie objectionable to that?
Madhav, the way I see it is, the way BJP has been functioning since 2014 in the center and the Yogi government in Uttar Pradesh since 2017. It's a world accepted fact that, we use terminologies like BC and AD. I think what the BJP is trying to do here is they're trying to give a message they're trying to leave a legacy for the future generations of the country to read things like before Modi and after Modi. Because before Modi, we were in the Stone Age. Everything that has happened in the country has happened after 2014. Now the real reason, if it's just a nomenclature, there's no harm in it. Why bring it? What are we trying to do by changing names of cities, by changing names of streets, and giving it an angle that we're shedding whatever baggage we have of the colonial era? I think what I want to emphasize upon and remind all the BJP people or everybody who's in favor of such a thing that is happening right now, the biggest label of the colonial era is the Commonwealth. And we just participated in the Commonwealth and we felicitated our sportsmen who won medals over there.
Okay.
So if you really want to do something substantial, just do away with the Commonwealth thing.
Okay.
And coming back to
there's cheers coming away from Dr. Anand Raghunathan from an unlikely place.
The Kartavya Path.
Okay.
If Kartavya Path renaming the
you made a point.
Kartavya Path.
You made a point. Let me get to Dr. Raghunathan. Dr. Raghunathan, you are quick to applaud him.
Going through.
You are quick to applaud him.
Be it unemployment, then
absolutely.
Let's get your response very quickly.
From the most unlikely quarters, Mr. Samir Singh has a new fan in me. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Samir Singh. Absolutely. The biggest relic, colonial relic, is Commonwealth Games, and we seem to be not only enjoying those games, we seem to be part of the Commonwealth. But very briefly, Madhav, there are three issues. Number one, it is a fact that every government, every dispensation or whatever ideology changes the names of streets and cities. Number two, it is also a fact that I have absolutely no objection to cities and roads being renamed, those roads and cities that were named after tyrants and genocidal mass murderers like Aurangzeb. Aurangabad was changed to Sambhajinagar. I applauded that. Shiv Sena did it. BJP did not do it in 6 years. Shiv Sena did it. Likewise, Aurangzeb thing. Number three, it is a hypocrisy on the BJP's part for saying, number one, the issue out here is it is a neutral name. If it was Kingsway Road and BJP changed it to Kartavya Path, I wouldn't mind it. But it was already changed to Rajpath. Number two, there are still, Tuhin is from Mumbai, so he wouldn't know. There are still roads in Delhi that are named after Governor Generals and colonial era relics, like Dalhousie Road is there, Chelmsford Road is there, Irving Road is there. I don't know whether Tuhin knows about Minto Bridge. ये सब चेंज नहीं किया है. राजपथ जो कि न्यूट्रल नाम था उसको चेंज कर दिया. और नंबर टू, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली, औरंगजेब लेन स्टिल एग्जिस्ट. Tughlaq Lane still exists. I have been crying, beseeching the government to change the name of Aurangzeb Lane. Okay. They haven't done it in 8 years.
See, Madhav, at a time when Central Vista has been completely renovated, I think, instead of listing all of those roads which Anand has just mentioned, we'll come to all of that in due course of time. But in Central Vista, which has just been renovated, this is the most apt time to rename a a road, Rajpath, which is such a hasty translation.
But why not others?
King George by its name.
Is 8 years not a long enough time to do that? If there is commitment towards that, why not do it? There's 8 years is a substantial period of time.
मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ तारीख का पता हो गया, मत जाइए कि तारीख आपने पूछा था कश्मीर के ऊपर, राम जन्मभूमि के ऊपर, सब हमने किया। तो हमारे काम करने का एक टाइम होता है, वो सब होगा। आप टाइम मत पूछिए, हम अपने टाइम से करते हैं, लेकिन जैसा प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा था इंडिपेंडेंस डे की स्पीच में, जो भी रिमेनिंग साइन है स्लेवरी की, और विशेष तौर पर
Okay, let me quickly bring in Sanjay Jha now. Let me bring in Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, his hand is going up. Yes, Sanjay Jha.
Yeah, Madhav, just two short points. Number one, when you can't create history, you try and change it. But remember, history is irrevocable. You can't change it. You can do what you like. The truth of the history never really can be obliterated. But I'm so disappointed with this government, because, we should learn from the Germans here. You go to Germany today, which everyone knows is guilty of the worst genocide in international history. We know what Adolf Hitler did to Jews. And even today in Germany, they have maintained those concentration camps. And Tuhin Sena, go and tell this to your leader in the region. You know why? Because the Germans want to keep those horrific camps alive. Because you should know what history did in the past. You don't make those errors again. It's a shame. But the Germans are willing to live with that reality. It is horrific. They know what Adolf Hitler did. Okay. They know the number of 6 million Jews who were brutally gassed to death. But they haven't kind of changed that at all. They maintain it.
Important point. Quick response. Shantanu Gupta, I think that's an important point being made there by Sanjay Jha, because globally there is an example of living with history. I mean, our own personal ideology or beliefs are above so what has already happened, and why not keep it as a reminder of what has happened? I mean, we are, of course, at the end of the day, that does not change what India's position has been in the post-colonial world.
Madhav.
Yes. Shantanu Gupta.
Yeah, Madhav, first of all, I want to establish, I think names are very important in Indian culture. We all have gone through Namkaran Sanskar. Your parents have very fondly named you Madhav, not maybe Kans or Duryodhan. My parents named me Shantanu, not Dhritarashtra, and some of the other names in panelists. And so names are important. Don't just say, oh, it's any name.
While we're at it.
When the new government came in India in 1947, the Nehru set up a names changing commission, and that's why the Kingsway became Rajpath, Queensway became Janpath, and a lot of other names. Though Nehru stopped short for many other names like Aurangzeb Road, because that might be a vote bank. So right, first of all, don't shoo away from Mayawati to Akhilesh Yadav to DMK to Nehru. Everybody changed name. From United States to America to South Africa, names are getting changed every month. Just go and Google it. So first of all, don't make out to be that okay, Modi is the one who's changing names, and it's not that he's changing Nehru Path to Modi Path, right? Because the Central Vista is coming, he's saying now the Rajshahi is going off. Now we are doing the Kartavya, just reminding that is the reminder of a duty of people. I think we should all take it in good spirit. Why it's even a debate.
All right. We are completely out of time. I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us, and Shantanu Gupta for reminding us why we are named a certain way and not the other. But I'd like to thank Tuhin Sinha, Shantanu Gupta, Dr. Anand Ragnathan, Samir Singh, as well as Sanjay Jha and Syed Faisal Ali for joining us this evening on this debate number 2. Moving on, rain fury has choked the IT hub of India. With severe waterlogging in most parts of Bengaluru, normal life has come to a standstill. Many IT professionals in the city, known as India's Silicon Valley, resorted to taking tractor rides to reach their workplaces. A constant stream of distressing videos show neither the wealthy nor the poor have been spared. EdTech platform Unacademy CEO Gaurav Munjal shared a video of his family and pet dog being evacuated on a tractor after his residential society was flooded.
Bengaluru is submerged, and that's precisely what we've been showing you now. We're reporting from a tractor over here in the Yamlur area of Bengaluru city. You can see, in fact, below us how the water has logged completely. There's a good 3-4 feet of water almost. What we're now picking up is that, the local administration over here, while the MLA did, of course, pay a photo opportunity visit, the citizens continue to be hassled. Well, in fact, the tractor that we're traveling in right now has a good about 20 to 30 people in it already, and all of them at this point in time are of course really struggling. This entire area that you actually see has been cut off from the main road. Deliveries to this area have almost been stopped completely. Electricity in this area too was shut down for quite some time now, and all of this near HAL, in fact in Yamloor in Bengaluru city. Also important to mention that supplies right now to the residents of this area are being sent on tractors and on boats. You can see how people too, in fact, who have to commute are only being able to use tractors. In fact, it's also important over here to mention that the local residents of this area have taken it upon themselves right now at this point in time to, sort of help each other in these difficult times and to fend for each other.
And a 22-year-old woman, Akhila, died due to electrocution while trying to carefully wade through the waters. Her scooter broke down, and in order to balance the scooter, Akhila leaned onto an electric pole next to her. As she came in contact with a pole, she was electrocuted. The city police have registered a case of death due to negligence against the Bangalore Electricity Supply Company and the BBMP officials. The shocking state of affairs on ground in Bangalore's IT city. Do us citizens not deserve better? Leave alone smart cities. Can we at least have cities that are not waterlogged and that completely throw life and chaos out of gear in today's day and age? That's a question that certainly all citizens would like to ask after seeing these kind of pictures. Thanks so much for joining us on the NewsHour this evening.
You were watching the NewsHour at 9. Stay tuned. The NewsHour at 9.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina in Delhi today. Both the countries signed 7 key MOUs. After CBI, now ED steps up heat on Delhi Deputy CM Manish Sisodia in the Delhi excise policy case, conducts raids in over 30 locations. Sisodia reiterated nothing will be found. For the third consecutive day, several roads remain waterlogged in rain-battered Bengaluru. A 23-year-old woman also lost her life after being electrocuted.
You were watching the NewsHour at 9. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to this Times Now special broadcast. In today's episode of Inside Karnataka, we discuss about the upcoming BBMP election. What do these polls mean for the citizens of Silicon City? What's at stake for the political parties? We give you all these details and much more in the next half an hour of this special broadcast.
Bengaluru, the capital city of Karnataka, has a robust culture of civic activism. It's also an IT hub and in many ways a symbol of the vast strides India has made in the last few decades in the field of technology. It's a cosmopolitan city attracting talent from all parts of the country, a huge recipient of foreign investment, and a place that also stands out for its pleasant weather and greenery. But there are serious questions to be asked of the city's civic governance. Is Bengaluru's infrastructure really commensurate with its status as an international city? What of those tasked with the responsibility of ensuring an efficient municipal administration? Why is it that Bengaluru continues to be afflicted by serious civic apathy, not on the part of its citizens, but its administrators?
When it comes to the BBMP elections, and of course with the elections around the corner, we definitely have to talk about politics, and we have. But what are the core issues that plague the BBMP? What are the problems that the Bangaloreans really want addressed? To talk more about
Good evening and welcome. You're watching the NewsHour agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. In the past, there have been multiple debates and largely political ones about the reforms that are being carried out in madrasas across India. Whether they should be done, whether they are being done with a political motive, whether they reek of Islamophobia. We just talk about evidence. In the past, we have shown you how there are multiple instances of how either radical elements were given shelter in madrasas or that madrasas were used to even recruit, radicalize and shelter such people. Today we will show you how it's not just about radicalizing but outright fraud which is being done on the very people who these madrasas are for, the children studying there. Times Now has accessed a report that has been prepared by the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. A report that shows how that funds that are flowing into madrasas have constantly been rising, but the actual spending in madrasas on food and education for the children has been constantly declining. This is a report from June 21 to 22. So if madrasa funds are not used for children, for their education, for their food, where are these funds going? Remember, when Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath had questioned about what is being taught to children in madrasas, about what is actually going on there, and had sought a survey, his actions were tagged Islamophobic. When the Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma took action against madrasas who were linked to terror organizations, he was accused of a witch hunt. Today, when the rights panel is saying that madrasa funds are not being used for the welfare of their students, will they now back the push for reform?
हमारी रिपोर्ट ये बताती है कि ग्रेजुअली मदरसों की इनकम में इजाफा हुआ है, लेकिन बच्चों के खाने और खुराक पे जो खर्च कर रहे थे उसमें 50% तक की गिरावट आई है। साफ साफ बात यह है कि बच्चों की सिचुएशन पैथेटिक है, बच्चों की सिचुएशन वहाँ पे अच्छी नहीं है। यहाँ तक कि हमारी रिपोर्ट ये भी बताती है कि वहाँ जो सिलेबस है वो सिलेबस औरंगजेब के ज़माने में औरंगजेब का बनवाया हुआ है जो वहाँ पे चल रहा है। मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि मदरसों के नाम पर एक बड़ी फंडिंग कलेक्ट की जाती है, जाहिर है जिसका इस्तेमाल बच्चों के लिए नहीं हो रहा है।
Now in Assam, after madrasas were found to be operated by Maulvis with link to Al-Qaeda, it's not just the government which has realized the dangers that they pose. Today, locals took matters into their own hands. 3 madrasas have already been demolished by the Assam government, but today it was the turn of locals who dismantled a madrasa. It was found that it had harbored 2 illegal infiltrators from Bangladesh who were linked to Ansar ul Bangla terror outfit. This was a demolition not just by the Assam government but by locals who are irate about how their children, their youth are being radicalized in the name of giving them an education. But it seems some people have still shut their eyes about what could happen if reform doesn't take place. The Congress and the Jamiyat have both upped their offensive against any reform that is proposed. Today, the Congress in Assam wrote to the minority panel saying that the crackdown and demolition of madrasas in Assam is illegal. In fact, when they were confronted with the report that we have from the NCPCR, Listen to them question why only madrasas and not gurukuls are facing such scrutiny.
फंडिंग अगर आ रही है और उसका मिसयूज हो रहा है तो भारत सरकार की एजेंसीज क्या कर रही हैं? और ये जांच एक बृहत्तर रूप से सभी के लिए हो। मदरसे तो शिक्षा के मंदिर हैं, डोनेशंस जारी हैं, सारी जांच के दायरे में आनी चाहिए। सारी एनजीओज को आप जांच के दायरे में लाइए और उसके बाद एक सम्यक और संवैधानिक कार्रवाई कीजिए। सिर्फ वोट लेने के लिए खबरें मत बनाइए, ये खतरनाक है।
एनसीपीसीआर को अपनी क्रेडिबिलिटी बना के रखना चाहिए। हमारा ये कहना है कि कोई भी कमीशन जब कोई फैक्ट फाइंडिंग कमेटी का रिपोर्ट बनाता है, उसका पहला शर्त होता है साइंटिफिक टेम्पर पे उसको नापना कि आपके पास फैक्ट क्या है। सरकार की हैसियत नहीं है कि वो भारत के लोगों को पढ़ा सके। सरकार टोटल ध्रुवीकरण, पोलराइजेशन का काम करना चाहती है और आपको ये लगता है कि मुसलमान आपके जूते की नोक पर हैं। तो हम कह रहे हैं अगर वहां पे समस्या आपको है, यौन शोषण होता है, पूरे प्रदेश के स्कूलों को नोटिस क्यों नहीं दी गई? बीजेपी तो खुद मतलब इसका एक हिस्सा है।
Now, in addition to the Congress shooting off a letter, the Jamiyat Ulema-e-Hind also had a meeting where they brainstormed about how this kind of action should be stopped, about whether they should approach the court. They also expressed fears about how the atmosphere against minorities in India is being increasingly poisoned, and action against the madrasas is but a guard for that kind of Islamophobia.
कोई भी चीज को हमेशा सही करने की और सही है तो और अच्छा करने की हमेशा गुंजाइश रहती है। आपने देखा ना कि आसाम में क्या हुआ है, तो अब वो तरीका अगर इख्तियार किया जाएगा तो वो तो नाजायज होगा, नामुनासिब होगा। चीज को ठीक करना है, खत्म तो नहीं करना।
अब हमें नहीं मालूम कि ये इन्होंने इन्फॉर्मेशन कहाँ से गैदर की है। जनरली आप भी जानते हैं सैंपल सर्वे के तौर पे चंद मदरसों या चंद जगहों को से इन्फॉर्मेशन गैदर करके रिपोर्ट लोग बना लेते हैं। लिहाजा इस बात को हम मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं कि 50% ही पैसा इस्तेमाल होता है। लिहाजा हम लोग अपने रिसोर्सेज से इन मदरसों को चला रहे हैं, अवामी चंदे से चला रहे हैं। लिहाजा बेहतर यही है कि इन मदरसों के साथ कोई छेड़छाड़ ना की जाए तो बेहतर है।
मुख्य डिसीजन यह है कि हम मदरसों के ताल्लुक से जो एक गलत इमेज बनाने की कोशिश की जा रही है उसको दूर करेंगे। हम कंप्लायंसेस के ऊपर पूरी तरह से गवर्नमेंट के साथ हैं, जो कंप्लायंसेस हैं वो होना चाहिए, लेकिन हम उसी के साथ साथ इस बात का भी विरोध करते हैं कि मदरसों को टारगेट करके ऐसा इमेज नहीं बनाना चाहिए कि जैसे कोई मदरसा गलत काम कर रहे हैं।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining us on the debate, Karan Verma, author, Feroz Bakht Ahmed, former Vice Chancellor of Man U, Zeba Yasmin, spokesperson of Samajwadi Party, Qamar Zaman Chaudhary, leader of the Congress, Shoaib Jamai, president of India Muslim Foundation, and Zubair Memon, political analyst. Mr. Chaudhary, I want to first ask you, let's leave aside the politics for a second. Let's just talk about the data at hand. How is it? And essentially, the madrasa debate is about the welfare of the children, right? So, if the funds going into the madrasas have doubled over the years, why has the spending on the boarding, lodging and food of the children become half? Where is the money going?
Yeah, Padmaja, a very valid question today. Where is the money going? But then, don't you feel that this particular report that has come out, written by Priyank Kanungo, is stereotyping all the madrasas of the country under the same umbrella? There might be a loose cannon somewhere here and there. People might be misusing the funds that is coming into the madrasas, because as you know, as a practicing Muslim, all of us used to pay a part of our income to the welfare of the poor people. In this cases, like the madrasa gets the majority of the funds, because we have to pay 2.5% of our wealth to the welfare of the poor and the downtrodden.
Exactly my point, and that is exactly what the report says, that a majority of the funding of the madrasas comes from zakat, which is voluntarily given by people like you. So you should be doubly outraged that money that you're giving in good faith for the education of these children is actually being taken away. That is exactly the reason why a survey and reform is needed. You keep saying, oh, madrasas are educated children. No, sir. They are taking your money, and the children who you are sending it for are not even getting it. And now it is documented in a report.
Accepted. Okay, accepted. Now the point that basically I want to put out here across is that, are the madrasas being regulated by a private university, private board, or any something? It was so far being regulated by the government authorities. There is a madrasa education board out there who looks after the welfare of the madrasas and its students. Now in Assam, you see the entire madrasa board has been abolished. Now who is going to look after these madrasas? That's why I say, don't stereotype all the madrasas under one umbrella. There might be some loose fodder out here and there.
Nobody is stereotyping, sir. And I'm so glad you accepted that there may be a loose cannon here and there. Which is why chief ministers like Yogi Adityanath, like Himanta Biswa Sarma, all they are saying is, let there be a survey. Let's identify the people you call loose cannons, and let's ensure that these loose cannons are not destroying the futures of the children. Then why are you resisting a survey? Why are you resisting action against the loose cannons?
Permit me another 20 seconds, please. Just let me remind you, in 2007, the National Commission of Minority Educational Institutions had set up a proposal to, by an act of parliament, it suggested to set up a Central Madrasa Board Act to monitor all the madrasas in the country. Now you see what a wonderful madrasa education board is there in West Bengal, wherein all scientific modern education is being implemented in the madrasas. But then the madrasas are never getting destroyed out here. Not they are bulldozed, nor are the children out here turning out to be radicals, as you all some people might want to project. But
actually,
you see in Assam,
I will not project anything. I will quote you three instances where these wonderful madrasas that you are speaking of in West Bengal, since you specifically quoted West Bengal, 3 instances at least where Ansarul Bangla, radicals or terrorists or Maulvis who are affiliated to JMB have been found in West Bengal. Since you say, oh, all madrasas are so wonderfully regulated in West Bengal, I will quote to you 3 instances. But first, let me bring in Firoz Bakht Ahmed.
That's what I tell you. Please do not stereotype the madrasas. These madrasas are there for education purpose. If somebody misuses the madrasa system, no, this is called stereotyping, ma'am. Padmaja, this is called stereotyping because you find some jihadi elements in a madrasa. Then there are central agencies, there is police mechanism to address this problem.
Sir,
to arrest those people.
Hold on a second.
To detain them. To act as per the law of the country.
Which is exactly why acting as per the law of the country, 3 madrasas, including the one in Bongaigaon in Assam, was brought down because they were harboring terrorists, 1, and they were built illegally on government land, 2. But the moment that action took place against the loose cannon, your party shot off a letter today saying this is a witch hunt against Muslims. Himanta Biswa Sarma is an Islamophobe. He is a Muslim hater. You must stop this. They are harboring terrorists. The children in those madrasas are being radicalized.
There is no doubt
now
about it.
I'm showing you additional evidence of it's not just about radicalism, it is about denying children your money. Let me bring in Firoz Bakht Ahmed. Firoz Bakht Ahmed, what do you say to the argument that instead of broad brush stereotyping, why don't you have a madrasa board? Don't just keep saying, oh, this is a terror factory, terror factory, terror factory. Regulate it in a civilized fashion. Firoz Bakht Ahmed.
All right, thank you, Padmaja. I was listening to my learned friend, Mr. Kamruzama. In fact, all these people, the way they talk about madrasa, they think that the government is interfering in the religious education, blah, 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 all these things. Whatever the language, this is an English program, whether it is Hindi, Urdu, or any other language, their tone and tenure is the same. Now, your question is that as far as madrasas are concerned, so far as this education is concerned, it's very old, and there are more than 3 lakh madrasas in India. They will exist, but what the problems which we are having with madrasas, as you gave the examples of 3 madrasas which had some link with Ansarul Bangla or maybe ISIS, that is very unfortunate, because as far as I know about these madrasas, I can assure one thing, as some big politician had said, that Sartan se juda education is given there. No. There is no education like Sartan se juda, because madrasas, they all talk about peace. And apart from that, let me also tell you that in most of these madrasas, the government is trying, whether it is Himanta Biswa Sarma or it is Yogi Adityanath, both these people, or maybe it is in Bihar or in Madhya Pradesh, they are trying to give some kiss of life to these madrasas. And I am not pontificating. The way, the government of India, is trying, government of India is working on the formula or on the mantra of Prime Minister Modi, who once said that I want to see in each and every Muslim's one hand the Holy Quran, in the other hand I want to see computer. Now this is what the well-meaning government wants. And he also said something, Kamruzama, आप भी सुनिए, he said, मुसलमान हमारी संतान की माफिक हैं, हम उनके साथ बराबरी का सलूक करना चाहते हैं. तो why are you suspicious all the time? No, whether it is Saudi Arabia, it is Pakistan, it is Malaysia, it is Kuwait, it is Iran, it is Indonesia or any other Muslim country, they always keep on carrying out some survey, and don't ever and never say, just a minute, let me complete, please, don't interfere, Kamruzama Saab, you had your time. I have waited, I did not interfere in between. Now last 5 minutes, Padmaja ji, they keep on saying, why don't you survey the government schools, why don't you survey the schools which are run by RSS? There is no problem, that's why they are not surveyed. So there is no figment of suspicion about madrasas. They are doing a good job, but if there is something wrong or if they are backward, so modern education is the need of the day. Apart from the religious course and curriculum, these madrasa children, they are very hard working. They can learn a thick book like Holy Quran, which is of more than 1000 pages. This talent has to be tapped, and this talent, according to the dream of Prime Minister Modi, to make India the wish guru and to make India go on a fast track, must
and
use
they have to be given
English,
the best
Hindi,
facilities like the rest
mathematics,
of the country.
geography, everything should be taught to these children.
Absolutely. I will quote further from the NCPCR report.
So
but before I do that, a quick bit of information for Mr. Kamar Zaman Chaudhary, who was quoting the example of West Bengal. Then I'll come to you, Mr. Zubair Mehman. West Bengal. The West Bengal Police's Special Task Force arrested a madrasa teacher from Howrah's Bakra area for connection with the Islamic fundamentalist organization Jamaatul Mujahideen. This is not the central agency. West Bengal Police's Special Task Force has arrested this man for being linked to the Jamaatul Mujahideen. Then Burdwan blast. NIA arrests Lal Gola Madrasa founder. They were probing the Khargada blast, and they said that the founder of the Lal Gola Mokim Nagar Madrasa was responsible. It was found that he had got money from Netherlands. We've got 2 more such instances happening in West Bengal itself, and I'm not even referring to the cases which have come in from Uttar Pradesh, from Jammu and Kashmir, from Karnataka and from Rajasthan. Now, Mr. Mehman, another part, one, we talk about the funds which are being misutilized. The second part that I want to talk about is the kind of education that has given. And remember, when we talk about a survey, it is to see how are they being educated, what are they being taught, are they being given enough facilities. The NCPCR report points out syllabus employed at Indian madrasas primarily aimed to comprise the study of religious sciences. However, left ignorant of the world around them, many students develop an inferiority complex, being alienated from the rest of the society and unable to adjust with the environment when they are out in the world. Why would you not want a survey where you actually speak to the children and say, आपको क्या चाहिए, क्या प्रॉब्लम है, कोई तकलीफ तो नहीं है, कुछ आपको गलत तो नहीं सिखाया जा रहा है? How is that supposed to be a problem? Here is a child rights panel which is saying that children are being victimized in madrasas. Mr. Mehman.
No one has a problem with a survey. The problem is a specific stereotyping a religious body and doing a survey. You can get a survey, an open survey of all the institutions in India, and if you want to pick and choose the cases which you said in West Bengal or something, we have been seeing cases in lately.
Sir, I am not picking and choosing. These are actual cases, point number one. And if you are saying, no, hold on a second. You said nobody opposed a survey. Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi's exact words about such a survivor, ये छोटा NRC है। जब सर्वे कराया जा रहा है, बच्चों के लिए कराया जा रहा है, आपने फौरन से लोगों के मन में डर भर दिया कि ये सर्वे नहीं है, ये छोटा एनआरसी है। कैसे छोटा एनआरसी? अगर किसी के बेहतरी के लिए, किसी के बेनिफिट के लिए, टू इंश्योर दैट दे गेट द मनी दैट इज बीइंग सेंट फॉर देम, अ सर्वे इज बीइंग कंडक्टेड, हाउ इज इट छोटा एनआरसी?
True. I will repeat myself. No one is objecting a survey for all the institutions in India, education institutions. But if you want a survey for a specific religious, or you are pointing out a specific religion institution, there would be objections and there will be point outs. If you want a survey for the education institutes, go ahead. Make a blanket survey all over India.
Sir,
you'll get a best survey.
I am no education expert, but let me bring in Karan Verma.
If you want to
all regular education institutes under the NCERT, under the HRD ministry, are regularly surveyed. Everything is surveyed. Any institution which is under the right to education is regularly surveyed.
What's the problem?
That is exactly what the RT is. You are surveyed to see कि जो educational outcomes हैं, are they being adhered to or not? किसने बोला कि सिर्फ मदरसा का सर्वे हो रहा है? हर स्कूल में सर्वे होता है। आपको पता चलता है कि मिड डे मील मिल रहा है कि नहीं है, आपको किताबें मिल रही हैं कि नहीं है, टीचर टू स्टूडेंट रेशियो है क्या, ये हर सर्वे से पता चलता है।
अगर रेगुलर सर्वे हो रहा है तो ये स्पेसिफिक स्पेशल सर्वे की जरूरत क्या है?
Can I make a point?
सर्वे हो रहा है, सब बढ़िया तरीके से
स्पेशल सर्वे है नहीं सर, आप इसको जिस नजर से देख रहे हैं, आप स्पेशल नजरों से देख रहे हैं। सर्वे तो हर किसी का होता है, सर्वे हर किसी का होता है।
मैडम, आप आपके ही सवालों में पहले कुछ बोल हो। अगर ये रेगुलर सर्वे होते आए हैं तो इस स्पेशल सर्वे की जरूरत क्या है?
जवाब देने दीजिए।
स्पेशल सर्वे की जरूरत क्या है? करण वर्मा बताइए।
मैं बता, देखिए इसमें Padmaja, contrary to popular belief, the UP government has actually made giant strides in Madrasa modernization. Let me tell you some of the initiatives they've taken. 20 lakh students have been given, Muslim students have been given scholarships, which is a staggering number. TET qualified teachers are being kept today for madrasas. Today there is a digital app created by UP Desco which has digitalized entire madrasa education. So these are the concrete steps you can only take once you identify a problem. Without identification of problem, if you just resort to whataboutery, you will never be able to solve this. And the UP Minority Affairs Minister, Mr. Danish, who is a young person and is extremely qualified, he has laid out a clear roadmap. And they all cried when there was a survey, and it's courtesy these surveys that it's going to come out what sort of irregularities are there in UP. Till there is not going to be regularization of encroachments, of education, of everything, we cannot have anything in an organized manner. Only when we identify which are the areas which are lagging behind as per NCPCR guidelines and also the NCERT syllabus. You will be surprised, Padmaja, that has now come into madrasas. Digital libraries are available for the students. Now this is what you call progress. Whataboutery, of which Mr. Owaisi does. Mr. Owaisi is scared that if these students get educated, tomorrow he will lose out on his vote bank.
What about
he wants to hold these people to ransom. He wants them to remain poor.
Sure, absolutely. Interesting statistics given there. Interesting statistics given there by Karan Verma, who is saying that actually trained TET teachers are being put in madrasas in Uttar Pradesh after they have been surveyed. Interesting that he says that. Why? Because here is part 3 of the NCPCR report, which says no madrasa has a teachers training program. Furthermore, although many madrasas follow Darse-Nizami curriculum, it is widely known that there is a lack of uniformity in terms of things being taught. It is also highlighted that a lack of a teachers training program and many madrasas following Darse-Nizami curriculum, there is a lack of uniformity in what is being taught. This lack of uniformity is evident in the many courses that are provided in different parts of the country. Mr. Jamal. Okay, just my luck. Just when I finally got to Mr. Shoaib Jamai, I think there seems to be an audio issue. Can we please retry this? Sir, are you on mute? Can we fix this? Hello. All right, we'll just try and fix that. I think Mr. Memon wanted to quickly rebut.
I think he has very little to say.
Mr. Memon wanted to quickly, let's be fair to him. I think his mic is not working. Mr. Memon wanted to quickly respond to you.
Of course, the gentleman speaking before us, he pointed out some policies and then just went on to conclude that what Mr. Owaisi has been doing in his statements or so. I would like to welcome this gentleman. Please go ahead, go to Hyderabad and see how the education systems work. See how the poor children get the education in madrasas and schools. You can better get a way to educate the poor people in UP and Bihar and Assam also. And the main problem is, I'll let me complete, then you can counter it. The main problem is that they are not getting problems or getting problematic due to madrasas doing these days. They have been getting problems from last 100 years when madrasas were issuing fatwas against the Britishers, and the forefathers of this Assam Chief Minister and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister were bootlicking the Britishers. The problem is based there. Only the bootlickers and the ancestors have problems with the madrasas.
You are making rhetorical comments about bootlicking and British and
not a single point. Not a single point about the education.
Teachers है नहीं, curriculum में uniformity है नहीं.
No, Padmaja, can I rebut him?
Okay, Karan Verma.
That is the basic problem.
Has madrasa modernization been introduced? Have you introduced studies of mathematics, computer, science, which can help them get a job in today's day and age?
Of course they are.
Fact is, Hyderabad lags far behind. It might be doing well in Dini education, but it lags far behind in modernization of madrasas. Some few states, UP one of them, has taken concrete steps in madrasa modernization.
You are making false statements.
No. In fact, KCR admitted that a lot needs to be done for madrasa modernization. He admitted that on the floor of the house. And if there are efforts being made, that should be welcomed. UP and Telangana should learn from each other. Where is the contradiction?
Shoaib Jamai, uniformity, you have lack of, okay, Kamar Zaman Chaudhary also wants to rebut you. Yes, Kamar Zaman Chaudhary. Then I really must bring in Zeba Yasmin. Kamar Zaman Chaudhary.
Yeah, basically they go first. Padmaja, very important debate that you are doing today. You must understand which are the students who study at these madrasas. Let me be very clear and candid about this. It is the poorest of the poor Muslim community students who find very easy accessible within their mohallas or within their villages to access a madrasa. They are there because they are promised of free ration, free lodging and a sustained education, whatever may be the education standards. I am not going into that. So in effect, if you want to modernize the madrasa education, we welcome it wholeheartedly, but then address the societal problems first. When the Sachar committee recommendation has clearly pointed out all these anomalies in the Muslim education, then why are we debating now on a survey or using bulldozer to demolish the madrasas?
Because we are only debating that when there is a problem and it is being addressed, it should not be unnecessarily politicized. That is the only point, sir. Nobody is saying कि मदरसा में बच्चों को पढ़ाइए नहीं. Nobody is saying कि इनको बाहर निकाल दो, इनको educate मत करो. In fact, when you are acknowledging, Zeba Yasmin, that the poorest kids are going to these places, isn't it incumbent on all of us as a society to ensure that they get the best education that people like you have got in cities, that people like I have got in cities?
Yes.
Why shouldn't they get it? Why should they get some random curriculum? ना टीचर ट्रेंड है, कोई भी आदमी आके पढ़ा रहा है, कोई 2 महीने के लिए पढ़ रहा है, कोई 6 महीने के लिए पढ़ रहा है. Why? They should have education like you and I.
Padmaja, every child has a right to education, not only education, rather good and quality education. Whether the child is studying in madrasa, shakha, private school, government school, no matter where he is studying. But yes, what I am saying is, no place is corrupt people are corrupt and the system is corrupt. You cannot blame madrasa, you cannot blame shakha, you cannot blame any government or private school. क्या उन गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स पे बुलडोजर चल गया जहां दाल की जगह पानी दिया जा रहा था, जहां रोटी के साथ नमक दिया जा रहा था, जहां बच्चों से टॉयलेट साफ कराया जा रहा था? सिस्टम इज करप्ट. वी हैव टू वर्क ऑन द सिस्टम. एज यू सेड दैट कुछ मदरसा पाए गए जिनके टेरर लिंक्स हैं एंड ऑल. Action should be taken, but we cannot build up a perception that concept of madrasa is bad. As you're saying that funding is not being used on kids, again it is a matter of investigation. If it is not being used,
Chota NRC, they are the ones who are building a perception. Do you realize you are the one who is creating that perception? All that is being said is, and for everyone who says that, you know, the government is biased against madrasas, the government is trying to paint it as some hotbed of radicalization. Let me actually again give you some facts. Let me talking about generalization, ghettoization and victimization. Here are some facts. According to a NIPA study, over 21,000 madrasas have benefited from central financial assistance to the tune of 1,138 crores as of March 2020. This is the Modi government that as of March 2020 has given 1,138 crores to madrasas. But one should ensure that this money is going to the right place, in the right way, for the right reason. Firoz Bakht Ahmed, in places where midday meal was poisoned, वहाँ बुलडोजर क्यों नहीं चले, वहाँ पे सर्वे क्यों नहीं हो रहा? फिरोज बख्त अहमद.
Okay. Now, Zeba, just hold on. Hold your horses. Give me a second in the sideline. Padmaja, problem is that all these people who are speaking against the survey in madrasas, either in UP or in Bihar or maybe in Assam, problem is their ghetto mindset. Problem is, you know how Zeba started. She said, oh, you see these students, Muslim students, they have all the right in the world either to study in a good English medium school or whatever kind of education they want. Maybe this madrasa education. I mean, it seems to me that she doesn't want these students who go to madrasa to go to some good English medium schools or advanced schools. She wants that these Muslim children should always be exposed to primitive education and they should not get advanced education, which is a very sad thing. Ghetto mindset. Finally, let me add one thing more. Just a minute. Let me complete. Just 5 more seconds. Let me tell you one thing. As far as madrasa education is concerned, it is high time that it should be advanced, it should be regulated, there should be a proper madrasa board, and all these institutions, whether it is Shishu Niketan of RSS or any other school, they are all regularly...
Let me respond him quickly, because this is absolutely a false narrative and it has been based on the false propaganda, Padmaja.
Finally, let me tell you one thing.
Go on, Mr. Jamil.
Let me tell you one thing, that...
Padmaja, okay, allow me to believe for a moment that BJP is very concerned and the government is very concerned for the student of the madrasa. मैं मान लेता हूँ आपकी बात कि भाई आप चाहते हैं मुसलमानों के बच्चे पढ़ें, बहुत मॉडर्न एजुकेशन हो, बहुत तरक्की करे, सब कुछ हो. मुझे सिर्फ इतना बता दीजिए साहब, जितने भी लोग बीजेपी के समर्थन में बैठे हैं, कि ये जामिया मिलिया इस्लामिया तो प्रीमियर इंस्टीट्यूट है इंडिया का, उसका बजट क्यों घटा दिया आपने? अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी तो प्रीमियर इंस्टीट्यूट है, मुसलमानों के बच्चे ही पढ़ रहे हैं, उसका बजट आपने क्यों घटा दिया? इसका कोई जवाब है क्या? आज जामिया में इतना बजट घटा दिया है कि लिफ्ट चलाने के लिए भी पैसे नहीं है, एसी के मेंटेनेंस के पैसे नहीं है. ये हालत हो रही है आपकी. आप बच्चों को पढ़ाएंगे? जामिया इज द third ranking university in India given by the धर्मेंद्र प्रधान last month. और आप इतने प्रीमियर इंस्टीट्यूट जिसके बड़े बड़े पब्लिकेशन दुनिया भर में वर्ल्ड लेवल पे पब्लिश होते हैं, हमारी पेपर पब्लिश होती है, आपने जामिया को बेसहारा छोड़ दिया, उसका फंड ही कटा दिया और फिर आप कहते हैं कि हम तो बच्चों को पढ़ाना चाहते हैं, मुस्लिम बच्चों को. अरे आपकी नीयत सही है नहीं है सर, आप क्या पढ़ाना चाहते हैं?
ऐसा तो है नहीं. आप अगर कह रहे हैं कि मुसलमान के बच्चे पढ़ते हैं और बीजेपी को नफरत है, जामिया में तो हर कोई पढ़ता है, जामिया में तो हम भी पढ़े हैं, इसमें मुसलमानों का क्या लेना देना है? जामिया और मदरसे में क्या कंपैरिजन है?
पद्मजा आप अगर पढ़ी है अगर आप पद्मजा आपने पढ़ा है जामिया में, आपको पता होगा जामिया में मदरसा स्टूडेंट के लिए स्पेशल कोर्सेज चलते हैं. ब्रिज कोर्स चला करके थाउजेंड्स ऑफ मदरसा स्टूडेंट को यहाँ मेन कोर्सेज मिलाया जाता है.
रिलीजन जहाँ पे रिलीजियस स्टडी इंपार्ट होती है.
मैं इंटेंशन की बात कर रहा हूँ.
जामिया इज अ कॉलेज, इज अ यूनिवर्सिटी जहाँ हर कोई पढ़ता है.
I am talking. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द इंटेंशन। अगर आपकी इंटेंशन है कि मुसलमानों के बच्चे पढ़े तो आपने मुस्लिम इदारों के इंस्टीट्यूशन के बजट ही घटा दिए, तो आपकी नीयत पे तो सवाल उठ रहा है। मैं कैसे आपकी बात मान लूं कि
मुझे लगता है any educational budget being slashed, sir, I think one, that comparison is very very facile, and the second to say कि क्योंकि मुसलमानों को टारगेट किया है इसलिए जामिया का बजट एडजस्ट किया गया है is also a very unfair comparison. However, the idea was to focus on one report that is talking about outcomes, that is talking about reasons why scrutiny and reform is important. It should not be muddied with politics, because if at the end of the day you say you care for the interests of the children, this report shows you how madrasas are not serving that interest. Thanks very much, all gentlemen. Zeba Yasmin for joining me. It's only 2022, but it already feels like the Lok Sabha elections are breathing down our neck. The reason? The flurry of meetings that are now being held by all the camps involved. If today was day 2 of Nitish Kumar's visit to Delhi, where he has met a cross-section of leaders, then in the BJP camp, Amit Shah and JP Nadda met with key party leaders to brainstorm how they will get back 144 Lok Sabha seats that they had lost in the last Lok Sabha polls, and in which they still find the going tough. First, let's take a look at how Nitish Kumar's Delhi visit has panned out. He has met Rahul Gandhi, H.D. Kumaraswamy, Arvind Kejriwal, Sitaram Yechuri, Om Prakash Chautala, Akhilesh Yadav, Mulayam Singh Yadav, Sharad Yadav. He's had quite a busy time, and after all the hobnobbing, plans have now been firmed up for a consolidated Samman Divas rally on the 25th of September. A rally where, along with perhaps all of the leaders mentioned earlier, along with INLO, JDU, invitations will also be extended to the RJD, TDP Chandrababu Naidu, Farooq Abdullah National Conference and TMC Mamata Banerjee.
महत्वपूर्ण ये है कि आज जो देश के समक्ष हालात, चाहे आप राजपथ को कर्तव्य पथ कर लीजिए, रेस कोर्स रोड को लोक कल्याण कर लीजिए, बेरोजगारी मुंह बाहे खड़ी है, महंगाई नियंत्रण में नहीं है, अर्थव्यवस्था आपकी लड़खड़ा रही है, आप किसी भी आंकड़े में सर छुपाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, वो छुप नहीं पाता। तो उसके लिए क्या होना चाहिए कि नीतिगत तौर पर विकल्प होना चाहिए। नीतीश जी जो मुख्यमंत्री हमारे हैं बिहार के, उनका दिल्ली आना और अलग अलग दलों के नेताओं से मिलना उसी दिशा में एक कड़ी, और ये सवाल किसी व्यक्ति का प्रधानमंत्री बनने के लिए कवायद नहीं है, बल्कि एक सामूहिकता का कैसे निर्माण हो, जो कि एक मिसिंग कंपोनेंट रहा बीते कुछ वर्षों में। उनकी ये कोशिश है, और यही बात बार बार तेजस्वी जी हमारे डिप्टी सीएम भी दोहरा चुके हैं कई अवसरों पर।
उनका उद्देश्य, जैसे कि उन्होंने खुद कहा कि वो चाहते हैं कि अपोजिशन एक हो जाए और उससे मिलके भारतीय जनता पार्टी को हरा सकते हैं, और मैं समझता हूं कि बिहार से एक शुरुआत है।
Meanwhile, in the BJP meeting, Amit Shah has been reported to have told his team that Narendra Modi still remains the most popular leader in India, but they need to strengthen their party at the booth level in order to milk the PM's popularity. All leaders were told to give priority to Sangathan over Mantralaya and to ensure that they continuously meet Labharthis and give their feedback to the party and to the government in real time. And finally, and most importantly, this is the Lakshya. Party was told BJP must win back more seats in 2024 than they did in 2019, and that of the seats that they lost in the 2019 election, they must get back at least 50% of those. But the pitfalls of all of these meetings are familiar. What really is the glue that holds this anti-Modi, or rather the challenger to Modi and the BJP coalition together?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson of the BJP, is with us. Professor Manojit Mandal, Spokesperson of TMC, Ravula Sridhar Reddy, Chairman of the TSE-WIDC and leader of the TRS. But my first question is to Rajiv Ranjan ji, spokesperson of the JDU. Rajiv Ranjan ji, आप confident हैं कि सारी पार्टी जिनसे आप मिले हैं वो नीतीश जी को प्रधानमंत्री के लिए स्वीकारेंगी?
देखिए, सबसे पहले हमारी पार्टी का जो पॉलिटिकल रिजोल्यूशन है
एक बार मुझे लगता है बार बार दोहराने की जरूरत नहीं, पॉलिटिकल रिजोल्यूशन ने साफ साफ कह दिया है नीतीश कुमार जी पार्टी के उम्मीदवार, पार्टी की ओर से प्रधानमंत्री पद के उम्मीदवार नहीं है। उन्हें पार्टी ने ऑथराइज किया है अपोजिशन के सभी पार्टीज को एकजुट करने के लिए कि एक पूरे समन्वय के साथ, एक कोऑर्डिनेशन के साथ जो देश के बड़े मुद्दे हैं, जो ज्वलंत मुद्दे हैं, महंगाई, बेरोजगारी,
एकजुट किसके पीछे करेंगे?
भगवाकरण, संवैधानिक
सब लोग एकजुट तो होंगे, बट आगे इस जो ये एकजुट लोग हैं, इस गठबंधन का सबसे आगे कौन खड़ा होगा? मतलब रैली भी निकलती है तो आगे तो एक ही आदमी होता है ना।
देखिए, अगर आप याद करें, देखिए कई सवालों का जवाब आपको इतिहास से मिल जाएगा। 1977 याद कर लीजिए, कोई जनता पार्टी का आधिकारिक उम्मीदवार नहीं था प्रधानमंत्री पद का, और उस समय देश के 3 बड़े नेता, जिसमें बाबू जगजीवन राम, चौधरी चरण सिंह और मोरारजी भाई देसाई, ये सब बड़े नेता थे। जेपी अगुवाई कर रहे थे, लेकिन वो
आपने बिल्कुल सही बात की। इसमें जल्दी से एक सवाल पूछ लेती हूँ, वो सरकार कितनी चली? वो सरकार कितनी चली और फिर उसके आगे क्या हुआ?
देखिए, उस सरकार में शामिल तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी भी थी,
वो बात भी सच है।
देखिए मैंने क्या कहा, उस
मुद्दा तो यही है ना, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि सरकार बनी, पर कितनी चली?
नहीं,
देवेगौड़ा जी की सरकार बनी, कितनी चली? चंद्रशेखर जी की सरकार बनी, कितनी चली? गुजराल जी की सरकार बनी, कितनी चली?
पद्मजा जी, नहीं, अगर आप केवल सवाल करेंगी और जवाब नहीं लेंगी तो फिर मैं स्पष्ट नहीं कर पाऊंगा आपके सवालों का जवाब। देखिए, एक बात बिल्कुल साफ है कि 89 में भी नेशनल फ्रंट बना और उस फ्रंट का कोई ऑफिशियल कैंडिडेट नहीं था प्रधानमंत्री पद का। भारतीय जनता पार्टी नेशनल फ्रंट का हिस्सा थी। आपको याद मैं दिलाना चाहूंगा, और उसके बाद का जो ये कॉलिशन एरा है, इस कॉलिशन एरा में बगैर अलायंस के भारतीय जनता पार्टी को भी ये मुकाम हासिल नहीं हुआ, चाहे वो यूनाइटेड प्रोग्रेसिव अलायंस हो या एक तरफ आपका ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी ले
वो तो बिना अलायंसेस के भी
मैं जो बात कहना चाहता हूं,
2019 में अगर सारे अलायंसेस हट भी जाते तो भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी बहुमत में थी।
ये तो चुनाव परिणाम से न साबित हुआ। पद्मजा जी, एक अलायंस क्यों जरूरी होता है? आप केवल कामयाबी देख रही हैं। उस कामयाबी का सफर तय करने में अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने 26 दलों का मोर्चा बनाया था। हर राज्य में भारतीय जनता पार्टी को एक विश्वस्त सहयोगी मिला था
जी।
और आज परिस्थितियां क्या है? आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी इस 26 सदस्यीय जो यह अलायंस था, वो घटते घटते उसके तमाम साथियों ने उनसे किनारा कर लिया। और आज अगर बिहार, उत्तर प्रदेश, झारखंड, बंगाल, देश के बाकी राज्यों की बात मैं नहीं कर रहा हूं, इन राज्यों में अगर 100 सीटें घट गई तो इनके पास कोई सहयोगी नहीं है जो वो फासला ये आपके जादुई आंकड़े तक
100 सीटें कैसे घटेंगी ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा, पर क्योंकि आप आंकड़े की बात करते हैं, जल्दी से एक क्विक बैक ऑफ द एनवेलप एक कैलकुलेशन हमने किया। जिन जिन लोगों से आपने आज मीटिंग की है और जिन लोगों से आप करने वाले हैं, उन सब की जो प्रेजेंट सीट्स हैं, द नंबर ऑफ सीट्स दैट दे हैव वन सो फार इन 2019, वी जस्ट पुट इट ऑल टुगेदर एंड इवन इफ ऑल ऑफ देम वर टू कम टुगेदर, राजीव रंजन जी, इट कम्स टू 102। उसमें आप 50 और जोड़ लीजिए, 152 सीटों से कैसे सरकार बनाएंगे आप? बट दैट बीइंग सेड, दिस इज एज फार एज थिंग्स स्टैंड इन 2019. Sanju Verma, today among the many meetings that happened, Nitish Kumar ji also went and met Sharad Yadav. They've had a falling out in the recent past. So politics में कुछ भी possible है. Politics में अगर शरद यादव जी और नीतीश कुमार जी आज मिल सकते हैं, तो कल को लोग आपसे भी मुंह फेर सकते हैं. And maybe they say that this महागठबंधन is a great idea. Look, all the leading lights are together. और इसमें कोई ग्रीड नहीं है, कोई नेता नहीं बनना चाहता, सब कोऑपरेटिव
पद्मजा, आई वांट टू से वन थिंग, 0 + 0 कितना होता है? 0. 0 × 0 कितना होता है? उसका भी रिजल्ट होता है 0. द पॉइंट आई एम ट्राइंग टू मेक इज, आप जो लोग ये खिचड़ी गठबंधन बनाने की कोशिश और हेर फेर में लगे हुए हैं, बीट नीतीश कुमार, वेल एंड गुड ही इज मीटिंग अरविंद केजरीवाल, वेल एंड गुड ही इज मीटिंग शरद यादव, वेल एंड गुड ही इज मीटिंग DK राजा, वेल एंड गुड ही इज मीटिंग सीताराम येचुरी. मुझे एक बात बताइए, हाउ मच डिड बीजेपी विन बाय वे ऑफ सीट्स इन 2014? 2014 में हमको 17.5 करोड़ वोटर्स ने आशीर्वाद दिया। 2019 लोकसभा में हमको 23 करोड़ वोटर्स ने आशीर्वाद दिया। Just give me 10 seconds, Padmaja. I listened to Rajiv Ranjan for a long time. I need my 30 seconds. Please don't interrupt me. मान लेते हैं कि अभी 2019 में हमको 23 करोड़ लोगों ने आशीर्वाद दिया, which means in 2019 there was a 31% increase in the number of people who voted for BJP in Lok Sabha compared to 2014. Now I will admit and I give the benefit of doubt that in 2024 we may not add 30 or 35% more new voters, because it is always difficult when you are the incumbent, and it is always difficult when you already have the disadvantage of a high base. मान लो 15% और वोटर्स हमने जोड़े अपने साथ, इसका मतलब 2019 के 23 करोड़ के मुकाबले 2024 में हम 26.5 करोड़ वोटर्स का आशीर्वाद प्राप्त करके तीसरी बार नरेंद्र मोदी प्रधानमंत्री बनेंगे।
बेसिकली द एलिगेशन इज दैट यू हैव रीच्ड योर सैचुरेशन लेवल। अब कोई जुड़ेगा नहीं, अब बस टूटेंगे। अकाली दल टूट गए, शिवसेना टूट गई, टीडीपी टूट गई, अब सब टूटेंगे। वो लोग भारत जोड़ो कर रहे हैं, आप लोग अलायंस तोड़ो कर रहे हैं।
20 सेकंड पद्मजा, 20 सेकंड। उत्तर प्रदेश चुनाव के नतीजों के पहले हर पैनलिस्ट जो आज आपके शो पर है, मैं इन सबके साथ डिबेट कर चुकी हूं और सबने कहा योगी सरकार चाहे सूरज उगे ना उगे, सूरज अस्त हो ना हो, पर योगी दोबारा मुख्यमंत्री बनकर नहीं आएंगे। फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम इन 37 years with a 42% vote share, we came back to power with 250.
Whenever you talk about the UP election and achieving the impossible, Monojit Mandal starts smiling because he's going to sit there and say, आपने भी तो बोला था अब की बार 200 पार, देखिए कितना पार हो पाया। But before I bring Professor Monojit Mandal in, because he'll give some more time to smile, I want to bring in Ravula Sridhar Reddy. You have Mr. KCR, who is going and talking to people. Then you have Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who is also doing a yatra. Then you have Nitish Kumar, who is doing a separate yatra of his own. Is he doing it on your behalf?
Everybody is doing on behalf of the people of this country. What's wrong in it? Everybody will do their own efforts. When the objective is common, when the objective is unseat Narendra Modi from Prime Minister position in 2024.
Fine, you unseat Mr. Modi, but who do you seat there? Because I'm sure you also would have seen that infamous clip of when Mr. Nitish Kumar and Mr. Rao addressed a press conference in Patna, and everyone was left wondering what is going on with that power struggle there. I want to quickly play it out for your benefit, the first 10 seconds of that. What really was going on there? Because obviously there was some competing ambition happening there, Mr. Reddy. Quick 10 seconds, let's take a look at what happened.
तो केसीआर साहब नीतीश कुमार जी का नाम प्रपोज करेंगे।
ऐसा देखिए, मैं कौन होता हूँ? अब चलिए, मैं कहूँगा तो कोई विरोध करेगा, मैं कहूँगा तो कोई विरोध भी करेगा। आप क्यों जल्दीबाजी कर रहे हैं? हमको बैठने दीजिए, बात तो करने दीजिए।
इस पूरे प्रक्रिया में
मैं बैठा हुआ हूँ, आप भी बैठिए आराम से। 50 मिनट हो गया
इस पूरे प्रक्रिया में कांग्रेस पार्टी की क्या भूमिका होगी? विपक्षी एकता में कांग्रेस पार्टी की क्या?
What was happening there? The pointed question was, आप नीतीश कुमार का नाम प्रपोज करेंगे? Mr. Rao refused to say anything. Mr. Nitish Kumar was squirming. He tried to walk away. Clearly, there are competing ambitions there.
Our CM very clearly said that, who am I immediately to propose? We are working together. We will be announcing it. The objective is totally different today. See, you should be happy that there are so many Prime Minister capable leaders. Prime Minister faces in opposition. But BJP says, Modi के बिना कुछ नहीं है. हमारे पास कोई लीडर ही नहीं है। मोदी अगर 70 साल बन जाए, 80 साल बन जाए, हमारे पास कोई लीडर ही नहीं रहेगा, बात भी नहीं करेंगे, तो हम नहीं रहेंगे पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड में। इट इज नॉट द केस विद अपोजिशन, राइट? बी हैप्पी पद्मजा जी वहां पर जो हो रहा है, what happening was there that Honorable Nitish ji was saying that they will be forming this kind of questions. We don't have to immediately, let us not get into the trap of such questions.
Okay, there are many capable prime ministers, but again, very quickly, okay, so you have got no hard feelings with Mr. Nitish Kumar. What about Mr. Rahul Gandhi? Will the TRS participate in his Bharat Jodo?
See, they will do their job. They have a party, they have their own legacy. They'll try their best. What's wrong in it? Rahul Gandhi is in the, activity of making his party strong, where every leader of his party is going out. There are some problems. They are trying to do something else. Let everybody put their own efforts.
Okay, but if they make their party strong, then they will eat into your share in Telangana. Then how will your leader aim to be prime minister when he will be left with 10-15 seats? Because then the BJP will nibble away, a strengthened Congress will nibble away, then you will be left with 15 seats. Then how can you stake claim to be prime minister?
Padmaja ji, people are more intelligent than you and me. They will decide when the time comes.
Okay, people will decide when the time comes, but they are all going to push in one direction to unseat you, Sanju Verma. That is clear. They will remove you. Then they will decide.
पद्मजा, मैंने पहले भी कहा है, मुंगेरी लाल के हसीन सपने देखने से ना तो नीतीश कुमार को बीजेपी रोक रही है, ना तो अरविंद केजरीवाल को रोक रही है, और राहुल गांधी के तो क्या कहने, खुद की पार्टी टूट रही है पर भारत जोड़ो आंदोलन पर लगे हुए हैं. I just want to quickly say one thing. You raised a very important point, Padmaja. You said, we were saying 200 पार in Bengal. जी हमको 200 पार नहीं मिले, but look at it. Media held us to such high standards of probity, and I'm glad for that. Every debate I was questioned on that. We raised our tally from 3 seats to 77, but nobody gave us credit. But I was asked, so what, Sanju Verma, you did not win 200 seats. But by the same logic, TMC refused to win a single seat in Goa. TMC refused to win a
That is true, but then going by your same logic, Samajwadi Party also increased their vote share in Uttar Pradesh by almost 10%, if I am not mistaken. They are also going to say, "Hamari to moral victory ho gayi." It's always in political debates we run out of time because there's so much to talk. But I really must bring in Professor Mandal. I'm really sorry. Very famously once, Mamata Banerjee had said that I don't want to really talk about what that boy is saying. She was talking about Rahul Gandhi. Now he is on a Bharat Jodo Yatra. आप भी उनके साथ जुड़ेंगे जोड़ो यात्रा में?
नहीं, उसके जुड़ने से पहले जो सबको जीरो खिलाने वाली मैडम है ना बैठी, और जीरो का मतलब है रसगुल्ला, और जीरो के साथ जो टकराते हैं ना वो भी जीरो बन जाते हैं. पता है आपको? फिर से you look at the way she's smiling. I mean, this is laughter of a very arrogant party which is running which is running the country like a new avatar of Lord Karjan. You are अरे मैडम हैप्स ऑफ कट से आपको तो रसगुल्ला खिलाया ना, आप हम लोगों को जीरो खिला रहे हैं, आपको तो रसगुल्ला खिलाया. एक बात तो बोलने दो, आपको रसगुल्ला खिलाया, आप जीरो खिला रहे हैं तो आपको रसगुल्ला खिलाया.
Okay, I am unfortunately completely out of time, but since we are for a change having an amicable debate and we end on a sweet note with a Rasgulla, but I promise you with the Bharat Jodo Yatra and Mr. KCR's Yatra and Mr. Nitish Kumar's Yatra, we hopefully will have plenty more of such conversations. Interesting times indeed. Thanks very much all gentlemen, Sanju Verma for joining me. Stay tuned to Times Now. It is your political election news headquarters. Thanks for watching.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
The most pressing issue, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
Watching the News Hour at 10. The News Hour at 10. We'll be right back after the break. Hour at 10.
खुल के जीने
Hello and welcome to this Times Now special broadcast. In today's episode of Inside Karnataka, we discuss about the upcoming BBMP election. What do these polls mean for the citizens of Silicon City? What's at stake for the political parties? We give you all these details and much more in the next half an hour of this special broadcast.
Bengaluru, the capital city of Karnataka, has a robust culture of civic activism. It's also an IT hub and in many ways a symbol of the vast strides India has made in the last few decades in the field of technology. It's a cosmopolitan city attracting talent from all parts of the country, a huge recipient of foreign investment, and a place that also stands out for its pleasant weather and greenery. But there are serious questions to be asked of the city's civic governance. Is Bengaluru's infrastructure really commensurate with its status as an international city? What of those tasked with the responsibility of ensuring an efficient municipal administration? Why is it that Bengaluru continues to be afflicted by serious civic apathy, not on the part of its citizens, but its administrators?
When it comes to the BBMP elections, and of course with the elections around the corner, we definitely have to talk about politics, and we have. But what are the core issues that plague the BBMP? What are the problems that the Bangaloreans really want addressed? To talk more about this, I have two prominent Bengalurians here with me. Srinivas, who's a very prominent civic activist from Bengaluru with Janagra at the moment. Also Ian Faria, life coach, and also a very popular face in the city. Thank you to both of you all for joining us on this special broadcast. Firstly to you, Srinivas, what are the biggest issues that plague the BBMP and Bengaluru?
Deepak, the depends on who you ask. Bengaluru now has 1.4 crore population. Our own Janagra survey shows that water, for example, is a big issue for the poor, whereas water is not at all issue for the rich. Footpaths are a common issue across rich, poor, men, women, age group, younger, older people. Traffic, everyone thinks traffic is a big problem, but only for the rich people. Not so much for the lower middle class and the poor people. Traffic doesn't feature as a big issue. The development of Bengaluru has become unequal. We found out that 97% of people know the name of the Prime Minister. 89% could name the Chief Minister. Not even 13% could name the last mayor of Bengaluru. So that reflects the overall understanding citizens have about city governance itself, the third tier of governance. So their lack of understanding that such a thing exists translate into lack of participation in the elections itself. So if we create more awareness that BBMP is not some agency that does some work, but we actually have an elected representative there.
So has brand Bengaluru been affected? While we have these sort of fancy roads coming up and all of that, but the traffic is a perennial problem. Potholes is still leading to loss of lives.
I think Bangalore is definitely affected, and in a major way. And what I find is, see, unless we choose good leaders, all of us can have the best of ideas, but somebody has to give the instruction to get the idea enacted, right? But we need to go and click the button there for the electorate. I think that's a civic responsibility all of us should have.
and I don't think we have it. Like he was quoting just now, 40-50% electorate coming to vote. That's really pathetic. We need to make a noise. We need to go out there and be noticed. But if we want to just make phone calls and say the phone is busy all the time, it's not going to cut it. So get out there, show your face, stop using social media for everything. Everything is not solved on social media or messages to PM.
The Brihad Bengaluru Mahanagarapalikate is an elected body, but the council elections have not been held for a year, and there have been reasons for this.
The Garden City of Bengaluru, or the Silicon City of Bengaluru, however you may call it, has changed quite a bit in the last few years. We've seen the city grow in terms of population and also in terms of size, and with it, the issues plaguing the city especially have increased quite a bit and changed dramatically. Now, up until now, there have been 198 wards where the BBMP elections have been contested. This time, however, there are multiple changes that we are going to see in how the elections are going to be fought. Firstly, there's going to be 243 seats up for grabs. Then, of course, comes the issue of the delimitation, where the wards have been reshaped, and some of them say that it's going to favor some political parties and some of them stand at a disadvantage. Also, the reservation factor is something that's going to be keenly looked at when these elections are fought. So with all of these dynamics involved, which party stands to gain and which stands to lose? Well, take a look for yourselves. The delimitation exercise, this is something that, many Congress leaders...
We are tracking for you. Uttar Pradesh BJP MLA Arvind Giri has passed away today at the age of 65. He suffered a heart attack in his car in Sitapur. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has condoled the demise. Kerala CPIM Rajya Sabha MP V. Sivadasan has written to the Union Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia and has expressed his concern over the rise in airfares during Onam. India reports nearly 4,000 fresh COVID cases has been recorded with 6,032 recoveries in the last 24 hours. A 23-year-old girl named Akhila has died allegedly after she came in contact with an electric pole as her scooty then fell down on a waterlogged road under Whitfield Police Station in Bengaluru. The Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will be paying an official visit to Japan for the
most pressing issue, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
Hello and welcome to News Now Overnight. I'm Siddharth Talia. Let's take a quick look at the top 50 headlines at the top of this hour at 11 o'clock. After CBI, now the Enforcement Directorate steps up the heat on the Delhi excise policy case, conducts raids in over 30 locations in different parts of the country. Manish Sisodia roars kuch nahi milega and says that this is a case of vendetta against the AAP. Delhi BJP leaders were detained by policemen after they staged a protest near Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's residence. Hate killed Harsha. NIA charge sheet exposes a sinister hate plot. Accused tagged Harsha a kafir and slaughtered him. Plan was to terrorize the Hindu community according to the charge sheet. Food scam haunts Shivraj Singh Chauhan in Madhya Pradesh. Auditor red flags the scam, says irregularities worth over rupees 100 crores in take-home ration scheme. With an eye on the 2024 election, Nitish Kumar camps in the national capital, meets Rahul Gandhi, Arvind Kejriwal as well as left leaders. BJP mocks fuse bulb fest. India bids farewell to business tycoon Cyrus Mistry. His death sparks a road safety debate. Locals in Bengaluru continue to bear the brunt of severe waterlogging as water is yet to recede from the roads and bylanes following a severe bout of rain. A 23-year-old woman named Akhila dies of electrocution after her scooty skids on a waterlogged street in Bengaluru. With roads flooded as well as cars submerged, many techies forced to take the tractor ride to office. Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai decides to blame the Congress government for the floods in Bengaluru and the poor state of civic infrastructure. Nitish Kumar claims that he is not the prime ministerial candidate for a united opposition. He says he is not even a claimant, says he does not even desire it. Malabar genocide, in which Hindus were brutally killed by Mopla Muslims, has been barred by censor board. The movie concerned, Ali Akbar, the director of the movie, who is now converted to Hinduism, has moved the High Court to get his film clear. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina met Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the course of bilateral talks to discuss trade, defence as well as energy ties. India and Bangladesh have signed 7 memorandums of understanding. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina highlighted the friendship between the two nations, recalls India's contribution during the Liberation War in 1971. Trouble mounts for Bihar ex-law minister Kartik Kumar. 2 of his residences have now been raided. Non-bailable warrant likely to be issued in the kidnapping case. In a shocking incident, DMK MP RS Bharti sent out an open threat to BJP's Annamalai, says that he's ashamed that the BJP state chief was not thrashed. He later clarified his remarks. The Harihar Davangere police in Karnataka have arrested 2 youths, Nayaz Ahmed and Mohammad Nawaz, for allegedly threatening people with machetes during a Ganesh procession in Karnataka. A new and stunning avatar of the Central Vista, all set to open for public very soon, but politics rages ahead of the inauguration on the 8th of September by Prime Minister Modi. Opposition slams the government move of redoing heritage sites. A slew of lawmakers from the Trinamool Congress, the Rashtriya Janata Dal and other parties have lashed out at the BJP and the Narendra Modi-led government. Lakhimpur Kheri violence accused Ashish Mishra moves a bail plea in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court issues a notice to the UP government and has sought a reply by the 26th of September. More headlines. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, has announced the formation of a national committee to prepare a draft national cooperative policy document. 47 members from all parties of the country are included in the committee. Pakistan violates ceasefire along the international border in Arnia sector, but BSF gives a befitting reply. A commander-level flag meeting was held between the BSF and Pakistani Rangers. A case has been registered after a video of a sub-inspector thrashing her in-laws in Delhi's Lakshmi Nagar went viral. The Indian cities Nilambur and Thrissur in Kerala have gained recognition from UNESCO after they became the nation's first entrants in the UNESCO Global Network of Learning Cities. The NIA carries raids at more than 24 locations in Puttur and Sulia towns in Dakshina Kannada district in connection with the murder of Praveen Nettaru last month. Bharat Biotech's intranasal COVID-19 vaccine received the DCGI approval for restricted emergency use on those above 18 years of age. The Goa airport successfully completed the required navigation performance procedure for both approaches 10 and 28 of the newly built runway at the upcoming new Goa International Airport. The Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held bilateral talks with his Mongolian counterpart Lieutenant General Saikhan Bayar Gurseid in Ulaanbaatar, which is the capital of Mongolia. In fact, the two countries might expand bilateral defence cooperation as well. Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is on a 6-day visit to San Francisco and Los Angeles. He said that India and the United States are focused on expanding their relationship even further. The Minister for External Affairs, Mr. S. Jaishankar, congratulated Liz Truss for getting elected as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind held a meeting on various issues, including the UP government's decision to conduct a survey of unrecognized madrasas in the state of UP. Uttar Pradesh BJP MLA Arvind Giri passed away today after he suffered a heart attack. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath condoled the demise of the MLA concerned. Elephants entered a hospital ward inside an army cantonment. The incident occurred in Bengal's Jalpaiguri district and the video has now gone viral. With an eye on the 2024 elections, BJP President JP Nadda and senior leader Amit Shah are holding a brainstorming session with other senior leaders of the party. One person has been arrested when the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence Coimbatore intercepted 7 passengers who bought gold in concealment from Sharjah weighing 3.5 kgs, which was valued at approximately rupees 1.83 crores. Lawyer in the Gyanvapi case, Vishnu Shankar Jain has been appointed the lawyer for the central government in Group A. The lawyers in the Group A panel can represent and argue for the central government in the Supreme Court. India reports nearly 4,000 fresh COVID cases and 6,032 recoveries over the last 24 hours. Punjab Mahila Congress Committee President Balveer Rani Sodhi resigned from her post, citing family circumstances. Mohammad Haris Nalapat, President of the Karnataka Pradesh Youth Congress Committee, floats an inflated rubber tube on a waterlogged road in Bengaluru to protest against the state government against the horrible state of civic infrastructure in the city. A massive landslide occurred this morning due to heavy rainfall near Sonapur tunnel area in the Jaintia Hills. Vehicular movement has been stopped on NH6. More headlines coming up. Sri Lanka and India lock horns in a must-win encounter at the Asia Cup today. Men in blue find themselves in a spot of bother after having lost to Pakistan previously in the Super 4 stage. Former Indian cricketer Suresh Raina, who's been a stalwart for Chennai Super Kings in the IPL over the years, has retired from all cricketing formats. He announced his decision today. Angry students demonstrate against the increase in fuel prices. In Indonesia, fuel price has been hiked by about 30% to curb soaring subsidies. In Southern California, the Fairview fire spread to at least 500 acres. Multiple residential structures were also on fire. Typhoon Hinnamnor, the most powerful storm to ever hit South Korea, has left at least one person missing and leaving over 66,000 homes without electricity as thousands of people have fled to safer ground. Large and powerful Typhoon Hinnamnor brought fierce winds and torrential rain to some parts of western Japan as well, causing extensive damage in the Kyushu region. The death toll from the strongest earthquake to hit China's southwestern Sichuan province since 2017 rose to 65. Dozens of people have also been critically injured. Francis Tiafoe beat Rafael Nadal to reach the quarterfinals for the first time in the history of the US Open. Boris Johnson gave a farewell speech outside 10 Downing Street ahead of his resignation as the United Kingdom's Prime Minister and the handover of power to Liz Truss. Conservative Party leader Liz Truss was formally appointed as Britain's new Prime Minister by Queen Elizabeth II. Truss has become the third female Premier of the United Kingdom. Big breaking news coming in. The former MD and the chairman of NSE Ravi Narayan has been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in a money laundering case. The first MD and CEO Ravi Narayan was heading the NSE from April 1994 to March 2013. Chitra Ramakrishna then took over charge of the NSE. Ravi Narayan was first arrested by the CBI and later by the Enforcement Directorate as well. Anand Subramaniam, the then GOO of NSE, was also arrested by the two agencies concerned. Let me go across to Bhavtosh for all the updates pertaining to this latest development in this particular matter. Bhavtosh, one would have thought this was only a matter of time because Ravi Narayan's name has also figured in the illegal phone tapping case as well pertaining to the NSE scam.
Yes, Siddharth, in fact, it was inevitable because of the serious charges that have been leveled not only by the Central Bureau of Investigation but also by the Enforcement Directorate, because both the agencies have said that there has been institutional breakdown as far as the National Stock Exchange co-location algorithm scam is concerned, and also the manner in which the staff phones were being tapped, and also how the illegal phone tapping instruments were being brought from outside, and then illegal phone tapping went for at least 2 to 3 years. And also the period coincided at the time when the co-location algorithm scam took place. Though Chitra was the first to be arrested, first in the co-location scam and then later in the illegal phone tapping scam, she in fact denied the charges. The second to be arrested was Mumbai Police Commissioner. He in fact denied the charges, claiming that he's a victim of political conspiracy, but it's the arrest of Ravi Narayan that has shocked everyone, because remember, he has been the longest serving managing director as well as the CEO of National Stock Exchange. His arrest is something that has shocked everyone. He was earlier called in at the Enforcement Directorate office in New Delhi and has just been arrested a few hours back, and his family members as well as lawyers have been informed about the arrest, and he will be produced before a relevant court tomorrow in New Delhi.
Thanks a lot for that update, Bhavtosh. We'll of course await the developments from the court hearing scheduled to take place tomorrow in this matter following the arrest of Ravi Narayan. Turning our attention now to the state of affairs in the IT hub of Bengaluru, the capital city of Karnataka, where severe waterlogging in most parts of the city has brought normal life to a complete standstill. Many IT professionals in the city, known as India's Silicon Valley as well, had been compelled to take tractor rides to reach their workplaces through the waterlogged streets. Bengaluru has been reeling under severe waterlogging due to incessant heavy rains for an extended period of time. Traffic movement has come to a halt, and of course many people are now raising questions about the inefficacy on the part of the BBMP as well, and the poor state of civic administration in the city. There have been power cuts as well as shortage of drinking water supply in the city. Let's take a look at these ground reports.
Bengaluru is submerged, and that's precisely what we've been showing you now. We're reporting from a tractor over here in the Yamlur area of Bengaluru city. You can see, in fact, below us how the water has logged completely. There's a good 3-4 feet of water almost. What we're now picking up is that, the local administration over here, while the MLA did, of course, pay a photo opportunity visit, the citizens continue to be hassled. Well, in fact, the tractor that we're traveling in right now has a good about 20 to 30 people in it already, and all of them at this point in time are of course really struggling. This entire area that you actually see has been cut off from the main road. Deliveries to this area have almost been stopped completely. Electricity in this area too was shut down for quite some time now, and all of this near HAL, in fact in Yamlur in Bengaluru city. Also important to mention that supplies right now to the residents of this area are being sent on tractors and on boats. You can see how people too, in fact, who have to commute are only being able to use tractors. In fact, it's also important over here to mention that the local residents of this area have taken it upon themselves right now at this point in time to, sort of help each other in these difficult times and to fend for each other.
We are at Marathalli area of Bengaluru, where water is still stagnant, and you can see it has entered the ground floor of many of the houses here, causing inconvenience to the people. There has been no electricity for the past 2 days, and the people are complaining that the BBMP officials have not come and visited them, and there has been no kind of respite. As you can see, water has entered the houses, especially the ground floor areas. Entire area is ground floor areas covered with water. For the past 2 days, there has been no electricity. People are complaining that there's no drinking water provided. Sir, where are you going now?
My hometown.
hometown?
Yeah.
What happened? Why are you leaving?
Since 3 days we can't comfortable for here. Electricity and water and all. Heavy rain in night time only. So we can't survive here. So we decide to planning hometown.
Okay. So decided to go back home.
Yeah.
Any BBMP official visited earlier?
Maybe I don't know. I'm outside.
Now what they're providing some food?
Yeah, food and milk and water. Yeah.
So they come from the government?
Yeah. Maybe BMP.
So you're going back to your house?
Yeah, hometown.
So there you see people after facing issues and problems, they're going back to their homes because there has been no electricity, no water. They're also having problem with it. Now the government is providing them milk and biscuits here in this particular area, as you can see, because they also don't have a drinking water in this area because of the water connection has been cut off. There's no electricity. People are having issues. The food and water is being provided by the local MLA here. They come here to distribute here, Mr. Arvind Limbavali. But the question arises about when will this water be receding, and that is a major issue for the locals here. There has been water for the past 3 days. They have been suffering. There's been no electricity. Even they work in the IT industry, but they can't work from home because there's no electricity. The Wi-Fi router is not working, and they are doing with whatever the mobile phone charges, and from there using it as a hotspot. We are talking about in Marathali, where MLA Arvind Limbavali is there, and his people are now giving a little bit of help to the local people by giving them water and milk and providing biscuits. But the question is when will this water, which is stagnant here, when it will be drained out, and when will the municipality assure the people that this will not be repeated next time?
There seems to be no end to the plight of citizens of the IT capital of the country. We've been on ground for almost about 48 hours now continuously, and it's really quite unfortunate that the situation doesn't seem to be getting any better. You ask the citizens about the administration over here and they'll tell you that it's dead, to say the least. We're reporting right now, in fact, from the Yamlur area of Bengaluru city, and what you're seeing right now is water that has receded after